Hey, what's going on, y'all? Hold on. Yeah. Yeah, I'm back at it again, back at the helm. Um, as what I'm saying, okay, we're dealing with fascism. Let me flip myself upside down. Damn. Oh, you're acting straggled aggling. All right. Let me get in this field. Let me get in this field. Shouts out to everybody come through. Mm. Yeah. Let me get set up. Let me get set up for a minute. Let me get set up for a minute. All right. We're gonna revisit this. Okay, this is uh, educational. I know people say it's boring and all this other shit. Political world systems. Done and done. There we go. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it cracking. So we're gonna talk about fascism. I know people is sharing, and we're just gonna be like here, and I'm just going to expound on it on a philosophy level, and then we're going to do the research and things like that. And we covered what we did last week with the political systems and things like that, part two. And yes, it went to the realms of nationalism. And part one, if you watch that, we also talked about fascism in depth. We talked about it in the first one, because the second one we talked about totalitarianism. We're going to talk about that next week. So basically, what you have is you have something that's going to be fine and dandy, right? So let me get this off. I know um I'm getting this found away. I'm gonna post the link in the panel. I know everybody's over there. Let's see over here. I'm gonna post another link. Just give me 1 second, y'all. Um, Let me post it in the hideout. If y'all know where I'm at, because I'm trying to, I ain't trying to compete over here. I'm just trying to get my shit off, and then I'll come back over the captains, because I don't know if this is gonna be a long stream. We'll see. We'll see for a minute. So I'm just gonna wait until yeah. We gotta see here for a minute. So in so many words, we got fascism, right? Okay, let's start off here. It's an authoritarian nationalist political ideology that exalts nations and often race above the individual, and stands for a centralized autocratic, centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. It is often claims to be concerned with notions of cultural decline or decadence, and seeks to achieve the national rebirth by suppressing the interests of the individual, and instead of promoting cults of unity, energy, and purity. That's so true. And in economics, fascism sells it's a third way between laissez-faire capitalism on the one hand and communism or socialism on the other hand. It acknowledges the roles of private property and profit motive, legitimate incentives for productivity, but only insofar as they do not conflict with the interests of the state. Fascist governments tend to nationalize key interests, closely manage their currencies, and make massive state investments. But they also tend to introduce price controls, wage controls, and other types of economic planning measures, such as states regulated accolade, allocation of resources, and especially in the financial raw materials and sectors. Yeah. They said the term fascismo was coined by the Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini, 1883, 1945, and the self described philosopher of fascism Giovanni Gentile, 1875, 1944. It derives from the Latin word fasces, an ancient Rome symbol consisting of a bundle of rods tied around an axe used to suggest strength through unity. It was originally used to refer specifically to Mussolini's political movement that ruled Italy from 1922 to 1943, but has subsequently also been used to describe other regimes. So true, totalitarianism and nationalism. We talked about that in the two series y'all need to see. Yeah, fascism has several types, of course. You got the Italian fascism, you got the Mussolini, Nazism, Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. You got the Cherokee fascism, you got the neo fascism. So yeah, if y'all want to read this, I'm gonna put this in the live chat. So we're gonna research it more. We're gonna keep it on here. So as when I was talking, let's go on, College Jane. Greetings, 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 greetings. Um, we're gonna post this right here because I know people is over at Rashawn's. Shouts out to the boy. And yeah, man. We're gonna see for a minute as I'm gonna search here. I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna lean forward. All right, let's look at fascism again. Um, we're gonna stop the share for a minute. So we're gonna look here. She said, "All hell, Grace Skull." That's right. Yeah, fascismo, fascistamo. Yeah, yeah. Let's look at the wiki, like it says. Let's read it. Like we said, we put the philosophy in here. Here you go. Yeah, authoritarian. Yeah, they show Hitler. As you can see, as you can see, it says the early 20th century, liberal democracy, um, etymology, fascismo, fascists, yeah, definitions and everything. So background, its roots. It has a history of that. Hitler, of course, World War II and all that. Those cultures is like, yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Britannica, Britannica. Okay, political ideology. But it's also part of the system too. As a massive movement dominated many parts of the central, southern, eastern Europe between 1919 and 1945, but that also had adherents in Western Europe, the United States, South Africa, Japan, Latin America, and the Middle East. Europe's first fascist leader was Benito Mussolini, took the name of his party from the Latin word fascistus, which referred to a bundle of elm or a birth rods, usually containing an axe. That's a symbol penal authority in the ancient Rome. Although the fascist parties and movements differed significantly from one another, they had many characteristics in common, including the extreme militaristic, nationalistic contempt for electoral democracy. That means conservative democracy, by the way. Political and cultural liberalism, a belief in natural society hierarchy and the rule of elites, and the desire to create the Volksschmiss in Germany, people's community, in which individuals' interests would be subordinate to the good for the nation. At the end of the World War II, the major European fascist parties were broken up. In some countries, such as Italy and West Germany. So, in so many words, movements were founded in Europe, well as Latin America and South America, although some European neo fascist groups attract larger followings, especially in Italy and France. None were influential as a result, fascist parties of interwar period. So, so henceforth, you know, but yeah. So in the war periods, okay, national fascism. I'll make the screen bigger for y'all, so to see what we're talking about here. So let's see. We got the philosophy right here. We discuss, and I'm gonna knock it down in a minute because I'm still reading. And let's see right here. Let's go on. What's going on, Sakpa say? So we gotta, get this on the wrap. So national fascism. Yeah. So yeah. So we're gonna go. All right, we're gonna talk about this in a minute. Hold on, y'all. National fascism, fascist parties and movements came to power in several countries between 1922 and 1945. The National Fascist Party, Par- Partito Nazionale Fascista in Italy, led by Mussolini, the National Socialist German Workers' Party in their language in Dutch, okay, or Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, representing his National Socialism movement. But the Father Front in Austria, led by Engelbert uh, and supported by Heimwehr, it's the Home Defense Force. Okay, Home Defense Force. That's what that means. That's in German. And major right wing paramilitary organization. But the National Union in Portugal, led by Antonio de Oliveira Salazar. We read about him in part one in Political Systems, part one, which became fascist after 1936 with the Party Free Believers, led by Ante Pavlovic National Union in Norway, which was for only a week through the leader of what was what was made the minister president under the Germans in occupation and military dictatorship, Admiral Tojo Hayaki in Japan. Okay. See, fascism was big around this period. They showed a picture of Adolf Hitler. And as you can see, the pictures um, as around these leaders that you would say, and that's what they are. And that was back in the day. So them days is like you get your knowledge like that. That's the swastika. A lot of people say it's a sword. That symbol goes way back to the ancient days when Cain in Abel's story, he had that on the top of his head. This symbol, a lot of people say it's a sword. It's a sword, but actually it's a cross. It's a hook cross sword, but it's a curse on your head. It's warlike. In the biblical, in the land of Nod, they had this type on your head. That's a mark. This is the mark. They actually stole it from India. It's a Nergal symbol. Once you have the Nergal symbol, that symbol is what you see and prepared in so many words. So as I see it, it's one of those things that you know it's just wild. And I'm just looking at it like this. When I see that symbol, and I learned this years ago, not just from YouTube, but other research, and that's just what it is. And once we did it, and I've learned about it and what they stole and copied. That was back in the day in Germany, but but that's the ideologies that was into. They stole from other cultures, but yeah, it's a powerful symbol. Um, it's it's one of those symbols people shouldn't wear, but they always think that's Germany, but technically it's not. They stole it from other people. Yeah, it's the Nazi party. They created this. They stole it from other cultures. That's why I don't take that one seriously. But that's a historical symbol. It goes further back than that. Interesting, ain't it? And then talk about Chile. Yeah, fascism was worldwide at that time. Countries was in the cross and the Klan. That cross is barren. That means death. There's nothing life about that cross. But yeah, you got all types of fascistic people and cultures and countries ain't shit. I don't give a fuck about these losers anyway. I'm gonna take them off my fucking page. But yeah, man, I just show you little clips of that. It's a fascism movement. The the Falange, founded in 1933 by Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera, never came to power, but many of its members were absorbed into the military dictatorship of Francisco Franco, which itself displayed many fascist characteristics. In Poland, the anti-Semitic the Falanga, led by Boslaw Piaski, was influenced but was unable to overthrow the conservative regime. And yeah, conservative regime by this person's name in Finland nearby the stage of a coup in 1932, but was checked by conservatives backed by the army. But the Arrow Cross Party in Hungary, led by Frene Selassie, was suppressed by the conservative regime of Mikilos Horthy until 1944. And when Selassie, or whatever you want to say his name, was made a puppet ruler under the German occupation in Romania. The Iron Guard, also called the League of Christian Defense and the Legion of the Archangel Michael, all for the on the fatherland, led by Cornelia Cord. Oh shit! Did I skip through that? Oh god, damn! I must have skipped through that. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. I must have skipped through that. Yeah. Oh, okay. I hit that by accident. Okay. Sorry about that. Horthy until 1945. Okay. Additionally, Legion Archangel was discovered. Okay. Oh, okay. Moved down. Okay. Cornelia Cordono was dissolved by dictatorial regime of King Carol II in 1938, 1939. Cordono, several of his legionaries were arrested and shot while trying to escape. In the 1940, remnants of the Iron Guard reemerged of the shared power, but were finally crushed by Romanian conservatives in February 1941. Okay. Okay. In France, the Crossfire, later renamed the French Social Party, led by the Colonel Francis de Lerescu, was large and the fastest growing party of the French right between 1936, 1938, and 1937. It was larger than the French Communist and Socialist parties combined. One scholar estimate in its membership 700,000 and 1.2 million. And by 1939, it has included some 3,000 mayors, almost 1,000 municipal councilmen, and 12 paramilitary deputies. Other fascist movements in France included the short-lived Fascio 1925-28, led by George Valois, young patriots, and led by Pierre Tingley, French solitary, and founded and financed by French Popular Party, led by Jacques the French actions. And yeah, after German invasion, 1940, a number of French fascists served the Vichy regime and Marshal Phillips and Pétain. Okay, so it's more. Okay, the British Union fascists led by Oswald Mosley. Let's see what we're gonna talk about here. We're gonna talk about it here. Okay, that's a picture. So this is Oswald guy. Okay, who's just looking at. Had some 50,000 members in the Belgium and the Rexist Party, led by Leon Delegui, won about the percent of the seats of the parliamentary in 1936. Russian fascist organizations were found by exiles in Manchuria, the United States, elsewhere. The largest of these groups were the Russian Fascist Party, the VFP, led by Konstantin Rosazatsky, all the Russian fascist organizations, VFO, led by Anastasia Vananatsky. Yeah, it was probably half Jewish or whatever, but that's a whole nother spiel on that. Outside of Europe, popular support for fascism was the greatest in South Africa and the Middle East. Several fascist groups were founded in South Africa after 1932, including the Gentile National Socialist Movement and its splinter group, the South African Fascists, the South African National Democratic Party, known as the Black Shirts, the pro-German Oxwagon Centennial. By 1939, there were at least 7 Arab shirt movements, including the Syrian People's Party, also called the Syrian National Socialist Party, the Iraqi Fudwa Movement, and the Young Egypt Movement, also called the Green Shirts. Several rival proto-fascist and fascist movements operated in Japan after 1918, and their activities helped to increase the influence of the military on the Japanese government. Among most important 3 groups was the Taisho Sincerity League, the Imperial Wave of Faction, the Greater Japan National Essence of the Association, the Great Japan, the Blood Brotherhood League, and the Way of the Society, Great Japan Youth Party. And incident wider invasions, Japanese troops in 1931. Several fascist-oriented patriotic societies were formed. In China, the largest group, these groups, the Blue Shirts, formed an alliance of the Kuomintang National People's Party under the Chiang Kai-shek and All Shang Order in 1934. The Blue Shirts were importantly put a charge of political indoctrination in the army, given limited control of its educational system. European fascism had a number of imitators, imitators in Latin America, including the Nazis founded in Chile by Jorge Gonzalez and Von Maurice, the Gold Shirts, founded in Mexico by Nicolas Rodriguez, and the Revolutionary Union of the Peruvian dictator Luis. Um, let's see. So okay. Okay. Where I'm at. Okay, dictator Luis Sanchez Cerro, but the Brazilian Integralist Action Party, which has some of the 200,000 members in the mid 1930s, was supposed by the Brazilian government in 1938 after the failed coup attempt. In the United States, the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist organization founded at the end of the Civil War, revived in 1915 and displays some fascist characteristics. One of its offshoots, the Black Legion, had some 60,000 members in the early 1930s, committed numerous of actions, arsons, and bombings. In the 1930 Catholic priest Charles E. Coughlin became national radio broadcasts and sermons on political, economic subjects. His talks become increasingly anti-Semitic, anti-democratic, and anti-Semitic, as did the journal be founded in social justice after running the unsuccessful for the United States presidency in 1936. Coughlin became an apologist for Hitler, Mussolini, and Franco. In 1942, social justice was banned from the U.S. mails for violating the Espionage Act, and the same year that the American Catholic Church ordered the Coughlin to stop his broadcast of pro-Nazi Germany American Bund, founded in 1933, staged military drills, mass rallies until it's disintegrated with the United States in the entirety in the war of 1941. So yeah, the common characteristics of the fascist movements. We're gonna read this. This is the Britannica we got. So how much time we got? How much time we got in that? Because I want to see what time we got. Oh shit. I almost froze. Better not freeze. Oh shit. It was a delay. Let's see what's going on. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Okay, greetings, Shar. What's going on, TC Killer? Yeah, it's a lag in my connection. What's going on, Nadia? Yeah, I have a connection feed problem. Let me unplug this. Let me unplug this. This connection's acting up. Because sometimes when you stream, so I done streamed twice in 2 days straight. I streamed yesterday and it was a good conversation. But you know, this one's we're gonna get into not much. I'm gonna do some more research on fascism, but I was intending to do it today. I said, nah, let me look this up and I'm gonna show y'all even better. We research this together. So that way we're going to run through. Okay, common characteristics of fascist movements. There has been considered disagreement among historians and political scientists about the nature of fascism. Some scholars, for example, regard its social radical movements with the ideological ties to the Jacobins of the French Revolution, where this others sees as an extreme form of conservatism inspired in the 19th century backlash against the ideals of the Enlightenment. Some find fascism deeply irrational, whereas others are impressed with the rationality with which it is served to the material interests of its support. for its supporters. Similarly, some attempt to explain fascist demonologies as an expression of irrational, misdirect anger and frustrations, whereas others emphasize the rational ways in which these demonologies were used to perpetuate professional or class advantages. Finally, whereas some consider fascism to be motivated primarily by its aspirations by a desire for cultural regeneration and the creation of a new man. Other places greater weight on fascism, it anxieties on its for the uh, on the sphere of communism. I thought the fear of communism, communist revolution, even the left centrist electoral victories. Yeah, and one reason for the disagreement is that the two historical regimes that are today regarded a par- I'll say paradigmatical, yeah, paradigmatical fascism, yeah, regarded as paradigmatical fascism. Mussolini's Italy and Nazi Germany were different in the important respects. In Italy, for example, anti-Semitism was officially rejected before the 1934, and it was not until 1938 that Mussolini enacted a series of anti-Semitic measures in order to solidify his new military alliance with Hitler. Another reason is the fascists' well-known opportunism, their willingness to make changes in the official party, but okay, party positions and in order to win the elections to consolidate power. But finally, scholars for fascism themselves bring into their studies different political and cultural attitudes, which often have a few bearing on the importance they assign to one another. Aspects of fascism, ideology or practice. Secular liberals, for example, having stressed fascism's religious roots. Roman Catholic and Protestant scholars have emphasized in secular origins. Social conservative have printed to its socialist and populist aspects. Social radicals having noted in its defense of capitalism and elitism. For these other reasons, there is no universally accepted definition of fascism. Nonetheless, it is possible to identify the number of general characteristics that fascist movements between 1922 and 1945 tend to have in common. They said the opposition of Marxism. It's no need to read that. We know what Marxism is and all that stuff. But that's just, you know what I'm saying? Like we're talking about fascism, things like that. So and yeah, man. So we're gonna stick with it. But yeah, fascism is one of those systems that everybody likes to expound on. Oh, the Britannica is acting up. Okay, let me. There's something going on with the computer. I'm gonna stop the share and I'm gonna bring y'all back up to speed about fascism. Yeah. Because that Britannica's on some bullshit. I have to knock it off. Yeah, and that's just what it is. But hold on, y'all. God damn it. I hate this shit. I hate the internet sometimes. There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna try to because my shit was buggy for a minute. Backlash shit. Yeah, I'm gonna knock this down because that shit's unnecessary. It's buggy right now. But yeah, I had to knock it down. It was buggy. It was lagging. 'Cause my internet's acting up. It happens sometimes when you try to do a fucking live stream. It was good for until then. It's everybody's at home. I'm not gonna like that shit. That's why I don't really care. Streaming in the daytime is cool, but 9 out of 10, you can't have fun. They got to fix the laggage because everybody's online. This is kind of like last year. You got to be careful. The rise and fall of fascism. We're going to talk about that. It's a lot of shit you can cover. It's no need. Fascism is not going to be a long. This stream may not be long, but I'll give it an hour or two. I don't know if I'm going to open this up. I'm just going to, my shit's on delay too. See, the internet be fucking up my shit. And then y'all be, it's delayed on my end. Let's go on, Tampa. Yeah, because this shit be laggy sometimes. Y'all got to bear with me. My shit is not supreme, y'all. Sometimes Google has some fucked up ass internet problems. The rise and fall of fascism from his birth in 1883 to the day of his death in 1945. Benito Mussolini was many things to many men. Son of the blacksmith of the radical uh, persuasions. Mussolini was a born revolutionary. He was named after Benito Juarez, the Mexican revolutionary leader. As he grew up, he knew the hunger and the hardships of the laboring class. He was one of them, and the natural leader and a firebrand of the order, or the first order. Through the successful let's see what's going on here. Success stages of the radicalization and the I'll say the anti-clericalism, including the several years of the exile of Switzerland, because as confirmed pacifist, he refused to undergo military training. Mussolini became the leader of the socialist editor of its newspaper. He broke with the party over the issue of Italian neutrality in the First World War. He was for participation alongside the Allies and was expelled from it. Thereupon, Mussolini founded his own newspaper and enlisted in the Italian army. Was wounded and then returned to run the paper. Okay, he made it into the voice of all the elements and the veterans of the unemployed, the renegade socialists and nationalists, so forth, who were discounted and disillusioned with democracy. Yeah. Oh, he was finding that. Okay. Let me get off my horse for a minute. More crust than votes. Around Mussolini, Banner rapidly grew up an army of followers, from gangsters to sincere and patriots. Some of them were organized into the strong armed squads and armed in uniform as a black shirt militia. But the money for the case for the came from the alarm industries and others, and who saw the assurance then was on the way. The proclaim and the proclaim arms of the principles of the fascist movement are perhaps of the link consequence. Okay, consequence now in promise almost everything from the extreme radicalism in 1919 and the extreme conservatism in 1922, and the main program were centered on the idea of actions, but in reality, in a means of Italy and personal power. Okay. He playing the principles of fascism movements and perhaps unlike and the consequence now. And then in the promise, almost everything from the extreme radicalism. Okay, I'd read that. Okay, my fault. Okay, let me go back. The main reason progress was centered the idea action, but in reality, it meant for Italy, I'll say Italy naked personal power achieved and maintained through violence. But the fascists put up candidates in the uh, preliminary elections 1921. They were not successful. It was not very successful, despite undercover support from some elements of the government. Altogether, they received only about 3%, I mean 5% of the total popular vote, but they succeeded in planting the impression that they had the solution to all of Italy's power and ills. I mean, post-war ills. But the existing government had none. And also the march on Rome, the colossal bluff named out of the colossal nooses. I mean, a success. Yeah, colossal success. The early mass falls away. When the king called Mussolini to form the government in October 1922, very few people in the world had any idea what was meant by the totalitarian form of government. Mussolini himself probably did not know what he was going what was going to do except stay in power. A a preliminary preliminary majority back for the fascist government at the beginning, and the most people through the fascism was the temporary and interlude, but they preliminary majority back. Okay. So we're back at it. Okay. Temporary and literal. Okay. They thought Italy could later return to freedom and meantime, fascism could take care of the crisis. When Mussolini stepped into power, but the fascism had none of the support, race, blood, solid trappings. But that came to Germany with the Hitlerism. All the under elements of fascism were there. But however, the belief in violence and disbelief. Okay, disbelief. Yeah, disbelief in legal process and rabid nationalism and so on. But the regime was not totalitarian in the first 3 years. The opposition parties were still legal and strong opposition press and operated under difficulties. Mussolini's kept talking about a return to normalcy. It was only in 1923 that fascism fully threw of the mask and the murder of the socialist leader by the name of Mattaroni, a fearless preliminary opponent of fascism. Preliminary opponent of fascism was the signal through every device of open violence and conceited trickery. The t- and the totalitarian machine was built up. But this meant the complete state control of every phase of human activity. But it meant to fostering the idea the fascist party and the Italian state were one of the same, meant defying, but the nations and the leader, and it might be the nourishing of nationalistic and warfare, but it meant to the end the allegiance with the other grass totalitarian power to Europe, acceptance of debarred and okay debasing of theories and Nazism, and finally active in participation in the war. Okay, so that's the early mass falls away, responsibilities and consequence. Um, let's see. How shall we measure the consequences of fascism and the rules over Italy? How much responsibility for it shall we lay on the mass of the Italian people? There are numbers of items that weighs on either side of the balance. First of all, the quite clearly we remember that Italy and all the means of the people of Italy took the fascism when other nations as the hard hit in the post-war era did not. The post-war era did not. Fascism in Italy, we recall, arrived long before the Nazis took over Germany, and fascism taught the world and Hitler many of the tricks of totalitarian misrule, including the use of castor oil. Yeah, castor oil. We remember Ethiopia, the way Italian shrouded themselves in a horse of sending their army of to the attack of the the greeting the greeting news of victories that unindulged, undisguised, undisguised example of aggression, only snuffed out of the independence of a free nation, but also delivered a death blow to the League of Nations. Italian and due to Francia helped the overthrow of democratic government in Spain, where Mussolini and Hitler perfect their tactics for the Second World War. In the past, and we shall note that Italy treacherously seized Albania, and finally we recall Italy entrance into the war for the basis of motions, of motives, and Shar and the spoils of what seemed to be the last possible moment. The stab in the back when France was falling, and the cowardly attack to the against of the Greece will not to be forgotten either. Although it can be called and it can it be chalked up against the fascist government, of course, on the grounds that it was the gangster outfit that abused and misled to the Italian people of other things that the government was certainly guilty, but were the people innocent? They were not unattainted with the same guilt, and they cannot escape the shine of the shar of the responsibility. They were not always opponent to what the governments the government did not in their name. They also applauded its actions and rarely showed signs of trying to stop the miserable. And during the very years when fascism was at the worst in the foreign aggression, internal oppression, many Italians um, hailed Mussolini as a great man and firmly believed that fascism was a good thing for Italy. Some of them still do, but a nation that is willing to share the gains of the political gamblers and cannot accept the escape of Woli when they loved. Yeah, that's true. Italians really believe that at once upon a time they was a good thing. Other hand, a few five people were kept in mind were assets of Italy's past and future. That's the five things they talk about. um 1923, talk about Italians fought, things like that nature. So, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. I'm gonna see for a minute because I know I ain't gonna stay much longer, but yeah, okay. To watching. Okay, cool. That's cool because Rashawn's gonna be on longer, but I'll be over there on the other side of the picture. Okay, and that's what it was, and they accepted it. And then there's part two. It talks about the people, the violence, Okay, three. Yeah, the Ethiopian War and all that, but I ain't gonna get into the other side. But yeah, this is part of it. The rise and fall of fascism, of course. That's just one of the many things that you gotta look for. And what does it mean in 2020? This is a good one. I'm just looking at links right now. So, and let's get my mind right quick. And that's just what it is. So now, no, oh shit. Um, yeah, I know it's a little commercial ass. They show you the 1883 Yellowstone origin story. Okay. They said, what is fascism? What does it mean in 2020 America? I ain't gonna play the clip. Y'all can watch that on your own time. It was April 2020. The Tesla founder Elon Musk was angry. The target of his Irish social distancing measures imposed by California state and officials aimed the coronavirus, I mean the CT-19 pandemic, right? If somebody wants to stay in their it's cbsnews.com, stay home, and the great Musk said in the earnings of call reviewed by the CBS News, but the way today cannot leave their houses. They will be arrested if they do. This is fascist, he said, right? But it is. Before 2016, the word fascism popped up mostly in history lessons or political analysts, autocratic states, or the occasional terror group. But President Donald Trump years in the office have seen a surge in fascism talk from both supporters and opponents, using the word to describe their political adversaries. And can all of them be right? Or of course not. That's what they're saying in so many words. So before you think using the term yourself, here's what you should know about what fascism really means and what it doesn't. Strictly speaking, fascism is generally defined as a political movement that embraces far right nationalism. We talked about nationalism last week in its purest form. It's a liberal idea, right? And the forces suppression of any opposition, all overseen by authoritarian government. Fascists strongly oppose Marxism, liberalism, and democracy. But it's an oxymoron. They put that there. But if you talk about nationalism, it is a liberal idea. Yeah, it opposes moderate liberalism, requires it's kept. If you're a fascist, you're a neoliberal yourself. That's basically what fascism is. It is far right. It's not conservative. They don't subscribe to conservatism either. That means you're off the deep end. You know what I mean? You're off the cliff. That's an extreme side. Just in FYI, if y'all didn't catch what I mean by that, because I talked about it in various streams. Okay, and in the belief in the state, and back to the topic. Okay, believe to the state that takes proceedings over individual interests. They favor centralized rule, often a single party or leader, and embrace the idea of national rebirth, a new greatness for their country. Economic self sufficiency is prized often through the state controlled companies. Youth masculinity and strength are highly fetishized. The first modern fascist parties emerged in the after of World War One, and the ideology swept through Italy, the birthplace of the term. Germany and the other parts of Europe. Germany intellectually Jonathan Plingy accepted that the class divisions would disappear in favor of the radical comrades. But in the future of the Germany lay the National Socialism. That phrase is often shortened to Nazism, which is a form of fascism. But the movement gave birth infamous strongmen such as Adolf Hitler in Germany and Italy's Benito Mussolini, who, like many fascists, saw violence, violent revolution of governments, violent punishment of opponents as key factors into fascism, which is true. It's dominance of peoples. And here you see the pictures of Hitler and Benito Mussolini in Italy. Fascists also tend to embrace imperialism. Here goes that word again, imperialism, and the conquering of weak nations. Mussolini was especially impressed with the ambitious expansion of the militarism of ancient Rome, which is facts. They did that too. Hitler, Hitler, an early admirer of Mussolini and his tactics, modeled his Nazi party on Italy's fascism in 1920s, which is factual. It's very true. But I ain't gonna get into their Masonic orders, so that's a whole nother. I'm gonna leave that out of this subject. You already know the truth. Fascist regimes often meddle directly in their national economics, casting a suspicious eye on the perceived decadence of a system that relies on too heavily on capitalism. But the result, nationalism, companies and cartels and the keys, such as a manufacturing, but the end of the World War II saw the downfall of several fascist regimes, but not all. In Spain, Francisco Franco, who incorporated fascism elements in his military dictatorship, hung around for several decades, while other governments, such as the Juan Perón in Argentina, Perón, and how you say Juan Perón in Argentina, okay, enacted a kind fascist-like modeling its economy somewhat after the fascist Italy. Okay, not a compliment. Admin horrors of World War II, the word fascist eroded from the neutral description to an insult, except for the relatively small number of fascist sympathizers. George Orwell wrote in 1944, almost any English word would accept bully as a synonym, okay, synonym for fascist. But this is about as near to a definition as much abused word has come. Most recently, people start use this word to inaccurately describe any kind of far right or violent group, as well as a range of authoritarian socialist or communist regimes, such as Cuba's. Congressional Ron Paul, a libertarian leaning Republican, did not intend any compliments uh and compliments in 2012 when he warned, correctly or not, the America was slipping into fascist system. We slip away from a true republic. Paul said, now we're slipping into the fascist system where, like a combination of a government and big business, and authoritarian rule and the suppression of the individual rights of each and every American citizen. Okay. So, yeah, and we're gonna say rising threat as we can continue. And we look at the last read. Okay, the last read. I had the Britannica right here. In case y'all didn't know, I was reading the Britannica earlier. I meant to give y'all that until it froze up like a motherfucker on my side. So I'm gonna get this in the live chat, y'all. And what's going on, Wacky? It's light in here. I know. Oh, my fault. I need to paste that. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna go because it's meant to be done on Wednesday. And who is going here? Okay, okay. Let's go on, Bruce. Yeah. So, oh damn, it's been an hour. Good, 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 good. Might not open this up after all, but we gotta see how this goes. But yeah, because that's what we're seeing. Okay, in the 21st century, the foreign police experts have raised the alarm about a member of government shifting in the direction of fascism or least fascism light. The former United States Secretary of State Madeline or Albright has pointed to the experience, I mean, pointed to the emergence of increasingly authoritarian leaders in the countries of such as Hungary, Turkey, and the Philippines and the Poland and Venezuelan should be awake for the result on the democratic values that has gathered the strength in many countries eroded, and that is dividing the American at home. She write in her 2018 book, Fascism, a warning in President Trump's appeared to be campaigning in leadership. Yeah, okay, that's a raising threat. Oh, warning. Okay, I skimmed over that too quick. I read too fast. My fault, y'all. Rising threat. That's what they say right here. My fault. Let's go back to the top with Donald Trump. Okay, but is Donald Trump a fascist? President Trump's approach to campaigning leadership has drawn comparisons to fascist style authoritarianism. In September 2020, the interview, his Democratic rival Joe Biden pointed out some similarities. Trump is sort of like a Joseph Goebbels, Biden told MSNBC, referring to the head of the Nazis, Germany's infamous propaganda machine. You say the lie long enough. You say the lie long enough, keep repeating it, and it becomes common knowledge. Yeah, it's true. I kind of agree with Biden on that. Yeah, it's sort of like that, but Trump, it's a mix. I don't think he's a pure fascist though. That's a toss up. Some people think he is, but to me, that's too far. That's stretching. He ain't really built like that. He only had a 4-year term. He ain't had no dominance like that. He was trying to push that the other term. It was gonna be like that. He started off like that, but then he, that ain't gonna happen in this country. The only way that's gonna happen, it has to match. Making the country great again sounds exactly like a fascist movement. That is a fascist stroke. Robert Paxson, a leading authority on fascism, told the state an aggressive foreign policy to arrest the supposed decline. That's another one. Then there's a second level, which is the level of the style and technique. He even looks he even looks like Mussolini in the way he sticks his lower jaw out. And then also the bluster, the skill sense, and the mood of the crowd, the skill use of the media. Yeah, he's polarizing. That's why he does that. And even some Hollywood stars have likened President Trump to fascist leaders. But is that comparison accurate? It's true. Mr. Trump had signaled encouragement for some of his more violent supporters. He has sent federal forces into cities where protesting were simmering. That makes America great again. But the slogan does sound like a call for a national rebirth, which is true. That it is what it is in a way. Yeah, it has its fascist talks. He also publicly flirt with holding on to a president beyond the legal limit of 2 terms, has repeatedly refused to commit to a peaceful transfer of power. If he loses the 2020 election, prompted critics to warn those look like the steps. But in the last few key areas, the fascist label doesn't fit. President Trump has not embraced foreign military invasions as a way to make America great again. In fact, he campaigned on promise to bring troops home. And he doesn't obsess over the youth, and particularly important in America's great rebirth. Even Albright doesn't think Trump quite falls into the fascism category, though she disturbed by the similarities. I think Trump is the most undemocratic president I've ever seen in American history. She has said, I'm saying there's some elements of kinds of a behavior that he has reminds me of the variety of issues that have taken place among them. But she said, were Trump's attacks on the press and acting as though as he's above the law, despite the differences, vocal opponents of fascism, such as the loosely affiliated activities who go by Antifa, short for anti-fascist, generally sees themselves as anti-Trump as well. See, yeah, that's it on the article. So if y'all want to see this as well, you know, I could get some more out for you. So we're going to talk about it. But oh damn, there's a lot of people in the room. Oh shit, doing something right. Yeah, man. So y'all hold on for a second. Yeah. Yeah, it's laggy for a minute. Okay. Yeah, for a second. We're gonna look for something. He said experts weigh in, Vox.com, October. Even though he lost the election and they try to say he's fascist. Yeah, that's when he was president. I'm not gonna read that. What I can talk about. We'll stick on topic here. Shouts out everyone come through. Who's this person right here? Oh, not a problem, not a problem. So what we got here is, what is fascism? The conversation that's 2021. Fascism, local extreme nationalism, though 250-year-old idea. What y'all want me? The Holocaust. That I'm not gonna talk about that bullshit. I already know about it. Y'all can do that shit for yourselves. I'm not gonna mention them. I'm just talking about the system. We already know the atrocities is like, I'm not defending motherfuckers over here. I'm not windmilling, none of that shit. I don't do that. No windmilling. Not a windmiller. Sorry. They put Trump up there in the conversation. He had some views that are fascist, which is interesting. I'm not saying he's a pure fascist. He kind of be semi or something like that, but he's not extremely. He's borderline. I'll say it like that. But he is a liberal though. He is a neoliberal, I'll tell you that. I can say that. Debated he's a fascist. As a teacher of World War II history who has written about fascism. Okay. He said, and I found his historians have a consensus definition of the term, broadly speaking. Given the term current, sometimes erroneous use, I think it's important to distinguish what fascism is and is not. Race first thinking, fascism now century old, got its start with Benito Mussolini and his Italian allies. They named their movement after the ancient Roman emblem. The fascistes, the fascistes, and axe hose handle has been tightly reinforced with many rods, symbolizing the power of unity around one leader. Fascism means more than dictatorship, however. It is distinguished from simple authoritarianism, an anti democratic government by strongmen or small elite, and Stalinism. Stalinism. Authoritarianism with the dominant bureaucracy, economic control named after the former Soviet leader. But the same goes for anarchism, the belief in a society organized without an overreacting state. Above all, fascists view nearly everything through the lens of race. They're committed not just to race supremacy, but maintaining what they've called the racial hygiene, meaning the purity of their race, and the separation of what they view as lower ones. This means they must define who is the member of their nation's legitimate race, and they must intervene as a true race. Mainly a familiar with Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime's so called Aryan race, which had no biological or historical reality. The Nazis had to forge a mythical past, a legendary people, including some in its true race, means excluding others. See, there's different variations of it. Okay, capitalism is good. For fascists, capitalism is good. See, they love they're capitalists. A lot of people don't know that. Most fascist people are capitalists. That means to control and to dominance. That's fascism. It's a fascistic neoliberal idea. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, I can go in depth on it, what it means. It means a lot of meanings, but people misuse it and don't understand. It has to have leadership and authoritarianism mixed with totalitarianism. We'll talk about that next week. That's a whole nother spiel on that. The exchange of protecting private property. We talked about this last week with the philosophy field build we came. Fascism demand capitalism. Capitalists. Yep. And it says it appears in the admiration of the severe. Yes, see, I skipped over real fast. Okay. I read that part with the exchange protecting private property as its chronics. And it says the survival of the fittest phrase coined by the social Darwinist Herbert Spencer. So as long as the companies serve the needs of the fascist leadership and the Volk or people. If for example, company is successful producing weapons for foreign or domestic war is good, but if a company is enriched non-loyal people or making money for in the imagine of a subrace of the fascists will step in and hand to someone deemed loyal. If the economic is poor, the fascists will divert the attention from shortages to plans for patriarchic glory or for the vengeance and against internal and external enemies. Right? Might makes it right. You see the picture? Okay. Might makes it right. The important and most fascist is the idea that the nation's patriots have been let down, that the good people are humiliated. Humiliated. Makes it right. Okay. He said humiliated with bad people to do better. These grievances cannot be answered. Fascists say if things remain under the status quo, there needs to be a revolutionary change, allowing the real people to break free from the restraints of democracy or the existing law and get even. For the fascists, might makes right. Since for them, the law should be subservient to the need of the people and the need to crush socialism or liberalism. Fascism encouraged party militias. These enforcers of the fascists will break union, to distort elections, intimidated or co-opted the police. But the historical fascists of Germany and Mussolini's Italy extended the might makes right principle, but the expansion of abroad. Though the British fascists of the 1930s, led by Oswald Mosley and his British Union of Fascists, preferred isolation and preach a sort of an interwar against the imagined Jewish enemy of the state. There you go. That's what they promote. What fascists reject? And he said, what fascists reject? First and furthermore, fascists want to revolt against socialism. That is because threatens the crony capitalism that fascists embrace. Not only does socialism aim for equal prosperity no matter the race, but many socialists tend to envision the eventual extinction of separate nations, which offends the strong fascist belief in nation states. Although with getting rid of the aristocrats or other elite, and fascists are prepared to displace the church or seek mutually beneficial truce with it. Mussolini, Hitler, and the Falanginists in Spain learned that they had to live with, not replace, with the church in their countries, long as their regimes weren't broadly attacked from the pulpit. Fascists also reject democracy. Democracy means conservative idea, not liberal idea, conservative idea. Like I said, they don't like democracy. I told you they don't like conservatism. It's still neoliberal, by the way. They could potentially result in socialism, too much liberalism. See, they don't like modern liberalism, but they do like some form of liberalism. It's called neoliberalism, but they're extreme with it. In democracy, voters can choose social welfare policies. They can level the playing field between the classes and the ethnicities, or seeking gender equality. Fascists oppose all of these efforts, which is true. Fascism grows from nationalism. Fascism is a logical extreme of nationalism, roughly 250-year-old idea that nation states should be built around races or historical peoples. The first fascists didn't even invent these idea out of nothing. They just pushed nationalism further than anyone had before. For the fascists, it is not just that a nation state makes the people sovereign, it is that the will of the righteous and the real people and its leader comes before all other considerations, including facts. Indeed, the will of the people, their leader, and the facts are all over one fascism, which is factual and it's true. So this is a conversation about that, and this is another link y'all want to read. The conversation we're gonna give you. I'm gonna give you this right here. So in so many words, we in here. So people is not gonna come through right away. But yeah, fascism as a whole, as you can see here, it's one of those main things that you I'm gonna stop the full screen right here. Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to realize that's not just anything that goes, but as you can see in conversations you can have, and you can have another reading of this, and that's just what it is. So, in so many, it's not much on it. I'm gonna say like this. Let's go with fascist leaders. Yeah. Mm. And that's it. So, in so many, and then tonight, I know it's 9:29. List of fascist movements, leadership. Let's see what they got in the Britannica. God damn, it's a lot. Adolf Hitler. They're giving you your basics. Giovanni. These are fascist leaders. Duvalier, he's probably considered a totalitarian leader. Depends on the ideology. This is going by the classic. It's only 17 biographies. These are by yeah, in these countries. That's the problem. They're giving you your basics in the Britannica. I have yet to see it. I need to see a book. See, when you talk about totalitarian leaders, I think that's separate. It's kind of strange, ain't it? You know, because when you talk about fascist leaders, you talk about Mussolini, Hitler, and the British guy, and the time.com. So, and I'm just saying in so many words, and I'm just gonna go say what's up to Art, and we're just gonna go right here, and we're just gonna go. Tonight the villains is over there. We're gonna be all right. So only got an hour in. Okay, yeah, y'all. Brutal ideology. I'm gonna skim through this. Okay, fascist leaders. I might have to be specific. Specific. I want to be specific. Be specific. Past and present. Mm. Oh, it's a book. Okay, BBC News, 1930s and the 21st century. Leak here. We got some problems over here. So, in so many words, 1930s, 21st century, BBC News, 21st century. Okay. I'll let y'all see it on the screen. So, in so many words, you know, let's see right here. I'll let y'all, okay, I can take my ass off the screen. So, in so many words, I will say like 1930s. Okay, okay, okay. For the first time in this country, neo-Nazi to be banned using the 2000 Terrorism Act, the Home Security Act, Amber Rude National Act against. Yeah, okay. BBC. Yeah, spread it. It's always had a British background. To my Mussolini, then they use Trump. Not surprised. €1. Not much. Yeah, I can't even think of the leaders. Try to try to think of the leaders. Only ones they're gonna give you is Hitler and Mussolini. That's the damn problem. That's the damn problem. I'm just looking around. Let's see here. Let's stick with the Britannica. That's the only thing I can give you. It's not that much. They ain't gonna give you much. I ain't been specific. I'm not gonna waste my time. I think this is the leaders that they want you to know. Because I have to talk about totalitarianism. That's the one. These can be authoritarian leaders too. They're in the same umbrella. Fascism is different because a lot of these fascist leaders wasn't that domineering. They're dominant, but they wasn't like I said, they allow totalitarian people to exist. They birth all of them, but all that concept exists. It's a small version of totalitarianism. That's what fascism is. It has a lot of they wasn't socialists. They was like national socialists, but they were really nationalists. You know what I'm saying? They're like that's one of the things, man. Yeah. There's a picture of Mussolini right here. Benito. He's another one. That's your fascist leader. You got Giovanni Gentile. We talked about him in philosophy. Oswald Mosley. All these guys. Hitler. So yeah, like this is your the people known for fascism. They're known for it. A lot of other people not so much. You get what I'm saying? So that's what they're giving you basics. So like I said, um what you have here is you have it and it's just what it is. And like I said, and that's just how I'm gonna put it. Like in so many words, you know. Let's go on, man. Salute, salute. Francis Franco. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see for a minute. Francis Franco. Oh boy, Francis Franco. Yeah, Francis Franco's a part of it too. Let me see. You got Ernest. You got your basics. Damn, that's a lot. Emilio, the Italians. There's a lot of Italians and a few, and there's one British guy named Mosley. Yeah, that's your leaders on this site. So I will say, let me check here. Oh man, this is wow. In history. Yeah, that's what I need. Francis Franco in Spain. Yeah, this is it. I might have to look at that. See what they talking about on this one. They got the pictures and shit. It's a lot of reading, but a lot of science. I'm not gonna do a lot of that. See what I got in time. Yes, an hour. Yeah, I got time. And that's just how this is how you're gonna see it in so many words. So yes, an hour stream. So I could do it the next hour. So I'm gonna give y'all a shot. So fascist countries in 2021. Yeah. Let's look at prominent figures first and then we're gonna get into that review. So they still mention Mussolini. See, it don't go in depth. That's the problem. They don't go in depth. They showing you pictures and shit. Yeah, because see, they focus on Mussolini and Hitler. That's the problem. See, when you talk about fascism, you got to be specific. I wish there was a book I can have so I can keep it, make a part two out of this, and I can read it. So it's not fun when you have those balances and sources. They show you examples and shit. They're nice, but they don't go in depth with the leaders. There's neo-fascism at the end of World War II. Totalitarian regime. We're going to talk about totalitarianism. That's where they all going to be at. But fascism is a loose word, so they're trying to scrape that off the. Yeah, let's look at Fascist Popular Review because I'm not going to try to argue with this all day. So that's the countries that's in. That's Italy. They said Italy and Brazil. Hold on. They said fascist countries. They said Brazil's one, Italy's one, and Germany. So Italy, Germany, and Japan, Italy, and Germany and Brazil are fascist countries. That's what it says. Japan is fascist. Germany, Italy, and Brazil are fascist in 2021 because of the climate and things like that. So we're gonna keep it here. It's very interesting. Kind of like this shit too. I'm gonna save this. Put in my file. Yeah, we're gonna keep this. Let's see what this is going to. He said, "Don't forget about the Croatian fascists." Yeah, yeah, there are too. All of them. Uh huh. Yeah, in 2021. Yeah, in 2021. Yeah, Croatians were. Everybody been centralized, but yeah, man. I'll be back. I'm going on mute on a second. Okay, okay, okay. Let's see what we got here. Um, right. It's for the far right authoritarianism, ultra nationalist type government that is characterized by a one party dictatorship. When a country is under rule, the rule singular dictatorship It entails the centralized government led by one person, which is true. And a belief of fascism and things like that. Yeah, I read most of the articles. Okay. Okay, okay. We got it right here. Hold on. We got it right here. Okay. Even democratic nations how trace the fascist movements with their historians. These nations have the have had fascist sympathizers, parties, supported groups with some significance influence their respective countries. These nations include Austria, Belgium, Canada, Ireland, Lebanon, which you'll say is the Middle East, Mexico, known as Mexico, Netherlands, Sweden, United Kingdom, and United States. United States might come as a shock to some. In the late 1930s, pre Germany organizations showed support for fascism, and one group, the Silver Legion of America, managed to run candidate president on a third party ticket after the Nazi Germany declared war on the United States in 1941. The group was um, outlawed. That's what it says. And the fascist leaders and dictators: Adolf Hitler, Germany; Benito Mussolini, Italy; Furumato Kajimoto of Japan; of course, Stillafi, yeah, the guy from Brazil, Guillermo, yeah, Hungary, Greece, same old, same old. Francis Franco from Spain, Slovakia, Yusuf. Years active of fascism around the world. We got dates. Ooh, here we go. Australia, 1931, early 1940s. Austria, 1933 to 1945. Belgium, 1932, 1938. Canada, 1930s, 1940. Chile, 1932, 1938. Who else? China, 1932, 1941, 1938, 1945. Okay. Croatia, 1941, 1945. Finland, 1929, 1944. France, they would say, 1940, 1944. Greece, 1936, 1941. Hungary, 1933, 1945. Ireland, 1932, 1933. Italy, 1922, 1943. Lebanon, 1936 is present. Okay. Mexico, 1930, 1942. Netherlands, 1923 to 1945. Norway, 1943, 1945. Portugal, 1932, 1934. Poland, 1930s is present in Poland. It's problems right now. Wacky World Oil will tell you that. He had a whole stream on that. Romania, 1940, 1944, 1939, 1944, 1936, 1975. South Africa, 1930s, 1980s, and 1926, 1929. Ultimate Kingdom, 1932, 1940. United States, 1933, 1940. Okay. Yugoslavia, 1935, 1939. Former place of Yugoslavia. Then you got those countries that broke it up. There is no more now. So 1940. All the countries is listed, and this is a good one too. It's a damn good one too. So I'm gonna put this in for y'all in the chat if y'all want to take a bite out of this information. So we're gonna stop it right here. Yeah, because I know it's less in the chat. Appreciate y'all came through. Yeah, man. I mean, oh, my fault. I hit the wrong fucking button. It's an hour and 40 minutes. I've been talking for a while. Appreciate it. What's going on, Juan G? Salute, bro. Yeah. Yeah, man. So that's all the countries I listed. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is one of the countries, but currently they're going by the past and present. The ones is present we mentioned is Lebanon, Poland. Lebanon, Poland are present. What else is present? Said Austria. So yeah. Got a full screen for a minute. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. But like I said, man. It's in the chat. Pin the link. Yeah, it's pinned. So we talked about a lot of things. I brought the philosophy piece, several links to fascism. I want to go in depth. I mean, this is a decent stream, so I got time. I got time to kill. And that's it. So, speaking of which,
Hey,
what's going on, Wolf?
I'm good. How you been?
Good, man. Good. Just talking about a little bit of fascism and things like that. I
Yeah,
did like a little link tour and, brought the
yeah,
philosophy into it.
yeah. I
But yeah,
appreciate it.
man.
Yeah, I don't know. When you thought fascism, I was thinking about my great grandparents' generation.
Yeah.
I mean, any Eritreans, Ethiopians, Somalis, even Libyans who remember what life was like under Italian rule will tell you it was no picnic. Because
Yeah.
when Mussolini came to power, they instituted a system that would probably be the precursor to apartheid.
Yeah.
Or similar
Absolutely.
to Jim Crow style. So, you had segregation. I mean, Italians could live in certain areas, indigenous population separate. Interracial marriage was they had anti-miscegenation laws, of course, but they kind of turned a blind eye whenever Italian men took indigenous brides. But the other way around wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't going to happen. Hell,
Yeah.
most of the time, I mean, even now, that attitude's still there in a sense. I mean, a lot of sons are taught, like a lot of sons, get weird looks from their families when they bring home a white woman.
Right.
Right. But anyway, I did mention Francisco Franco as a fascist because a lot of people forget he was. But the thing was, because fascists of Italy and the Nazis of Germany did support his troops during the Spanish Civil War.
That's facts. Yeah, I
And
just
it was,
discussed that early in the stream. Yeah, he
yeah,
was a fascist. He's probably not mentioned in the Britannica because of bias, but in other sources, he is. Absolutely. There's pictures
he
of him. Yeah,
was.
all of them. Yeah.
I mean, the only reason why I mean, the only reason why they never ousted him is because, first of all, Spain declared neutrality during World War II because
Yeah,
they were just completely destroyed from the civil War, from the Spanish Civil War.
yeah,
And
that's
one of the men
facts. True.
who fought on the opposing side was George Orwell. Was George Orwell? A lot
Hmm.
of people didn't know that.
Yeah, that's true. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I knew about that like 4 years ago when I found out about that, and I'm glad I touched on this because then you get a piece of the leaders. See, they're
Yeah.
gonna stick with Mussolini and Hitler. Now, Hitler copied his ideals and things like that. Yeah, and those secret societies they're connected to the same type of people, but he
Mm.
actually he actually got it from Rome. Like the idea, like now his name is what you call that Mexican revolutionary. That name Benito. But what's so funny though is
Benito is
yeah,
actually Benito is a shorthand way of saying Benedito. Benedito, which is Italian for
yeah,
Benedict.
yeah,
Benito is Spanish because he was
yeah,
named after
Spanish,
a
yeah,
leftist by his parent because his
yeah,
parents were leftists.
yeah, they were. And I think he grew up as a socialist. But you know what's so
Mm-hmm.
funny? He got so to become authoritarian on the right, which is interesting. And I think what happened to him when Italy was like a neutrality in World War I, and I think he was expelled. And I read a piece of the article, and I was like, "That's interesting." They don't teach you that in school, but once I was reading that, that's what happened to him. But you don't hear that much about him until like Hitler. Now they talk about Mussolini as much. Yeah, all you hear is the atrocities and things like that. But what Hitler, that's widely taught in school because of that swastika and that flag. And people get brainwashed by that. But if you study fascism, you got to go back to Italy when it's before. That idea has never went away. It was pre him, you know what I mean? Because he got it from ancient Rome. They didn't call it fascist, but they got it from that symbol what they got it from, which is brilliant because that lets you know he was
Mm-hmm.
authoritarian leaders. Now, if you're talking about totalitarian leaders, oh, that's when you get into the Putins and things like that. No matter what belief they're in, that's total. You know, that's a
Total
whole
control.
nother, yeah, total control.
Total
Because,
control of everything. Authoritarian means they rule you
yeah,
and you're allowed certain freedoms so long as they don't challenge the regime's authority. And they use the
yeah,
military to enforce their authority.
yeah,
I mean, first of all, a lot of people don't know. There's a couple of names you might want to look into regarding Italian fascism. The first one is Enrico Corradini.
yeah. I think I covered
The
him
other
in the.
is the other is sorry, Filippo Tommaso Marinetti. He
Mm-hmm.
co-wrote the Fascist Manifesto
It's
with
gone information,
Mussolini.
man. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people need to understand them. But
Yeah,
as far as Hitler goes, he was influenced by a gentleman named Dietrich Eckart.
yeah, that
There's a
too.
Netflix series called Hitler, the Inner Circle, which talks about the men that was part of his inner circle. Some of the men in
Mm-hmm.
there, like Dietrich Eckart, Himmler, Goebbels, Heydrich, what's his name, Goering, and everybody,
Yeah,
and Eckhart and everybody, because Eckhart was the one who was involved in creating the facade that became Hitler,
yeah, true.
and what they believe, but the difference between German Nazism and Italian fascism is fascism. They had a belief. They were somewhat original of who they were,
Yeah, because
in a sense.
it started in Italy. Quasi kept
Hmm.
the historic of Rome. Mussolini
They
broke it
wanted they wanted
down.
Italy to, they wanted Italy to go back to the glory of Rome. I mean, that's why they take
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fascists
The
or
symbol, the ox
that symbol
symbol, and all that. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
the eagle. Those are all
Hmm.
Roman symbols. In fact, if you ever look,
Symbols.
they said that Mussolini in his office he had a miniature replica of the city of Rome in its height.
Oh yeah, at the
The
height
city
of
of
its
Rome.
purity. Yeah, before they had, well, the
Yeah.
churches took over. Even though the churches actually supported him quite scale. People try to say they didn't. No, they supported both. Hitler. Now Hitler was inspired by him. The difference was he took a lot of the original Aryans ideal with the swastika, but that symbol goes
The
further back.
Teutonberg.
Yeah,
He
that goes
bastardized. No,
further.
what they did was they
Y-
bastardized everything
Yeah, they
because
bastards.
think of
Yeah,
the name. Think of the name. National Socialists.
yeah,
In those names, up if a party wanted to get the attention of the population, they have to add the words like National Socialist because their
yeah.
party is called the National Socialist Workers Party,
Hmm.
and they took some of that and took the color red from the communists and the
Yeah,
Marxists,
yeah,
and they said, "Hey, we took your stuff from you. What are you gonna do about it? We bastardize
yeah.
your shit. We take your shit and bastardize it. What are
That's
you
what
gonna do
they
about
do.
it?"
That's the same with the Aryan culture, but that is the same with Aryan culture. They got it from an old biblical story.
Hmm.
That cross, if you want to study about the Cain and Abel, the land of Nod, they had that symbol, a sword symbol. Cain had that the mark on his head. That particular symbol, which says what that goes back to the days of Cain, because that was a mark on his head. And the reason was when you start
Oh wow.
murdering people, the Most High look at you as a murderer, like that's like the a villain aspect of it, right? And most
Yeah.
cultures did that. Now, most Aryan cultures didn't have that. They adopt a lot of biblical principles back in the early, if you want to say Judea and all that stuff. If you want to talk about
Hmm.
Genesis and all that, that came from that place, and it's
Hmm.
sacred. And the reason Masonic orders don't use that as much is a violent symbol. And Hitler did that on purpose to take their shit, right? Everybody else's cultures.
Hmm.
He was conquesting. That's what fascists do. They conquest. It's kind of like authoritarians. They do conquest in military. They do practice totalitarianism a little bit. And what they do is
Hmm.
they stretch it out. And corporations is evil as hell too. And you see it in corporations. They ain't gonna tell you that, but I'm surprised they added the Klansman. Well, it's true. You know, a lot of symbols are
I'm
very
surprised we
bastardized.
don't
Yeah.
bring up. There's a name that comes to mind. Bring it to America. A name named George Lincoln Rockwell,
Yeah. He's another one.
the founder
Oh,
of the
it's so
American
many.
Nazi Party,
Yeah.
and one of his disciples was a man named uh, William Luther Pierce,
Mm-hmm.
who formed an organization when he after Rockwell's death. He vied for leadership, but somebody else took it. So he went and formed something called the National Alliance, or some sort of organization.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, William Luther Pierce, co-wrote two books under the name Andrew MacDonald. One in the 1980s called Hunter, the other very known by everybody as the Turner Diaries. And William L.
Yeah.
Pierce was the inspiration and the mentor of David Duke,
Yeah. True.
as well as other groups like you've heard of it. Like we talk about the number 88, which is a numerical symbol for Hitler,
Yeah.
HH, and number 14, the 14 words. That was it just shows you where how far the influence that these guys have. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. Yeah. Fascism has been around forever. Even the ideology itself, they didn't call it that, but the Roman influence have always exist
Um,
in the Western world. I hate to say that.
uh,
It's you could say it's good, but one thing I hate about Roman history, the violence of it, the problem with it is they were conquerors, man, and people forget that culture sticks in your head, and the philosophies of countries they adopted it. I don't care what part of the world you in. If you adopt that shit, it's understandable, and long as you have
mm,
people practice socialism and communism all day, the opposition is right wing fascism, man. Like it has some a little bit of liberal ideas, but it's a neoliberal. It's like you
it's
can't call
co-opting.
yourself because you can't call yourself conservative because conservatives don't even believe in that quiet as kept. They're not even that extreme until you lose your shit and be
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm gonna take your rights, I'm gonna control you, and you harm others that's weak, and they see something, they gotta take it. And I'm like, okay. And see, I didn't understand that until I really read what it meant. And I said, oh, I see why. And then when we start seeing overseas shit, when people get conquested and the people in
Hmm.
the military tell you, it's something you can stop it, but you can't stop people believing in that stuff. That's a process when they're young. You gotta
It's
really,
called an intellectual contagion, actually, when you think
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
That's a word I
You
remember
really,
hearing from Dan Carlin. Thank you, Mr.
yeah,
Carlin, for that.
yeah,
But I will say this, Professor Black Truth, if you're familiar with him,
yeah. I'm familiar with him.
yeah, because remember, there was always those two things he always mentions about white supremacy: moral relativism and situational ethics.
Mm-hmm.
And so morality is only applicable when it's relevant, and ethics are only applied when it depend in accordance with that particular situation.
Right.
Which is kind of like, it's like being ends justify. It's a fancy way of saying the ends justify the means type of basis of operation, or modus operandi.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they operate. And of course, they're known to be conquerors, and people just want to look at the world through the eyes of a conqueror. But countries that also embrace fascism. I'm trying to find the name of that. The Croats I mentioned earlier. Let me find them, because a lot of people, because fascists were getting. Oh, also forgot to mention. The funny thing about fascism is this: they didn't always endorse anti-Semitism. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's true. They didn't always endorse that. No.
Yeah, it was only at the behest of Hitler that they started doing it, because
Oh yeah,
there were
yeah.
plenty of
I
Jews
trust
in
that. Yeah. What's going on, third
plenty
ward?
of plenty of Jews that were were within the ranks of the fascist party. In fact, a lot of people forget that there were guys
Yeah,
who
they
were
was in. They
Jewish.
was in. They was in. I hate to say this. They was in Germany and Italy, and Quas kept. There's a lot of half Jewish people in the Nazis part too. Quas kept. They ain't gonna tell you that because Hitler was part one. That's why he created the term "Mein Kampf," my struggle. And see, a lot
Mm.
of people need to quit this cap. He's half of them. That's where you get the
It's not
anti-Semitism
sure.
from.
It's
Yeah,
not sure about him, but anti-Semitism has always been there long before that,
yeah. Long before that, but
because a lot of the Jews in Europe,
mhm.
I mean, in Western Europe, they came. They're only you only had two forms. You had the Ashkenazi,
Yeah,
and then you had the Sephardic. Now, the Sephardic, most of them who were in Spain and Portugal. Many of them fled northward to
yeah,
France, as
yeah,
well as to the Netherlands.
yeah,
Among one of their famous sons is a man named
yeah,
Spinoza.
yeah,
But the Ashkenazis, a lot of them fled from Eastern Europe, from the Russian Empire,
yeah.
heading westward
What
to
they
avoid the
call it,
pogroms. The pogroms.
Prussia. Yeah, when they called it Prussia at the time.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
went to Prussia and other places. And one thing the Nazis try to make sure was quiet as kept is how many Jews fought for Germany valiantly and died.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, the officer
But
who gave Hitler his medal for
yeah,
bravery in World War
but
One was a Jew.
yeah, yeah. People don't know Hitler. They think he was born. No, he was born in Austria as a kid.
Yep.
I know his background, his ethnicity very well, and I tell people this all the time. They say, "Why does he have to?" Well, you got to go by his mother's side. His mom was one of them. He said
They're
some
not sure actually,
racial.
because
Yeah, they're
because if you
not
look at the
sure.
registry, they're not sure who his his paternal, I think it was paternal grandfather.
Yeah, paternal grandfather, but he does have a dark ancestry of the Moors and African. They did some research on it, but it's complicated. The reason they did that because they ain't gonna tell you that he's part Jewish. A lot of people try to say he ain't, but he is because he knows everything about their movements. He did kill like plenty, but people don't tell you that history, and a lot of Americans are ashamed to talk about it because you got a lot of his kind over here in the South like that. Like I said, they're everywhere. Like most Jewish people won't tell you their history because they have ashamed of it too. And I understand their little pain in the German thing, and it's no hate because I went to school with some of them, and they told me in the secret that at first they just want to say he's a German thing. Yeah, but he was born in Austria. If you studied his birth,
Yeah.
now I don't know his mom's people was one, but I don't know which specific of them. I don't know if it's Ashkenazi or Sephardic because it's weird because Hitler studied
If
all
you
that.
said like a Moorish, then that's Sephardic.
Yeah, on his, I believe
because
that's on his father's side, but I don't know specifically because they kept doing research on his DNA.
they
And
could not be they could not figure out who is, because if you look at the registry, they could not find out who his grandfather was. The
yeah,
grandfather's name was left unknown. So
yeah, they still trying to add pieces to his
yeah,
ancestry and his people, and you know it's complicated. That's why I don't really call him a straight up German, because most Germans look at him like, nah, this guy
he was an
came from
Austrian.
Austria. Yeah, he's Austrian, and that's the confusion you get there. Now he's part of them as well, and he studied the Jews very well. A lot of people forget he's a part of them, and they said, why the self hate, and that's where it stems from. So see, a lot of people, I hate to say it, a lot of racists, or you want to call Nazis, they are part of it. Like the reason he created Mein Kampf, it exposed a lot of his former soldiers. There was half. And you can listen to the name and they try to confuse y'all, and even the Prussian shit. Like what's his name? What's that gangster that was banned from Israel? What was his name? That was cool with Charles Luciano, the known as Salvatore. That's his real name. What was his name? Um, damn, it escapes
Cannot
me
be
every
there.
time. He grew up in Russia but moved to America. He was poor. He was cool with Benjamin Siegel. Damn, I forget his
No.
name. It was him, but he saw the czars, you know, the violence did to his people. But you know, I'm gonna use him as an example. A lot of those people, they grew up like that, and then when it comes to America, it's a lot of them. But I mean, Hitler's history, it's not that
Yeah.
much. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because that's where you see all the confusion right there in his people. But the funny thing
Yeah.
is, you see him today in these right groups. Now, I can't say Trump is a fascist. He's more of a neoliberal. Now, he does have fascist talks like "Let's make America great again,"
He
but deep
doesn't
down,
really have an ideology. That's what he's
yeah,
got. That's what he had.
that's the
What's his
weird
face
thing.
for?
Yeah, yeah,
But then again, you don't really. If you look at his psych evaluate, if you look at the psych analysis they have of Trump, you'd realize he doesn't need one. He's very flippant. He does what he wants to do, and you realize
yeah.
he does what he has to do in order to get attention. I mean, I remember when
I had to put that link out there, like I read about it,
mhm,
and it was asking questions if he was a fascist. Now, I don't see it. Now, the media will
he's
paint him
a
as that. Yeah,
narcissist,
yeah,
but
he's a
he's this
narcissist. Yeah,
and narcissists have no ideology really.
apology. Yeah,
Because it's a they're here's the difference between a narcissist and a psychopath.
yeah,
Psychopaths are predatory.
yeah.
Narcissists are parasitic.
Hmm.
I know this because I've come across many of the two. Because if you remember when we were talking about mental health, I mentioned what I
Yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah. You did. Hmm.
It's a cluster B personality disorder that's in the same cluster with those two, along with another one called histrionic personality disorder. So, and BPD were basically traumatized empaths who share certain traits, but our traits are manifested in a different way. And we don't, and unlike them, we see you as human beings, and we're very empathetic. Unlike them, we're the complete opposites. But Trump is not what you think he is. He is he does he does harbor some and some hatred, but it's just him projecting his insecurities on others. That's
Yeah,
how
that's
it
what it
works.
is. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
Because
and I'm
there was
saying that.
a
Yeah.
because there was I remember there was like a New York Post or a New York Times. There was a New York Post article interview he did,
Hmm.
which he talked about, where he was espousing how great black men were at the time, and the journalist who was black would tell you he was just being condescending when he was saying all this shit. He wasn't really sincere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he
Yeah.
was cool with certain, you know, blacks that have his mindset. But you know what's so funny though? I
Only
don't
when they're
see him
useful to
as,
him.
yeah, yeah, that's what it is. He does that with everybody. What I've noticed, I don't see him as a fascist. Now, he may adopt some of their economic beliefs, but not no military. Now, he was never
Not
pro-military,
really.
you
Not
know.
really. I mean, he does. No, just co-opting that shit. It's a means to an end. But this is not about him. This is about fascism itself. We're discussing.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to talk about some real fascists, or
Oh
some
yeah.
people who are like who can be confused as
Yeah.
fascists? Matt Fascist, there's like what's his face? I don't want to mention his name, but he's a far he's a very vocal person in Italian politics.
Oh yeah.
He's head of this the right wing party, the League,
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking
and
about.
it's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, the
And
reason I
as
brought
an
up,
African immigrant, I cannot take that man seriously. I know I
yeah,
can, but I cannot allow myself to harbor hate because I know what he's
yeah.
about. I know what that's all
What's
about.
going DeAndre? Salute,
Hey,
salute.
DeAndre,
Yeah. The reason
and
I brought up Trump because of the American
mhm.
media, and I try to say, no, he's not a fascist. And it took me a while why they were saying, and it was a trope what they was trying to do. And I see what it was. Yeah, he may have some supporters that support fascism and the racist right wing in America, and he just was
But
praising
he'll
what
defend them because they're providing him with what he wants:
yeah,
attention.
money. Yeah, money and attention. Yeah. Yeah.
Attention motives, because he needs that ego continuously, boosted up. He needs that gas blown up, that smoke blown up his ass.
Yeah.
Excuse my French. By the way,
But
when we're talking about fascist groups, I was mentioning the Croatian fascists, otherwise
oh
known
yeah,
as the
go ahead with that.
Ustaše. They're called Ustaše. They were when Germany, when the Nazis invaded the former Yugoslavia. These guys were put into place, and they're predominantly Croats. They were led by gentlemen. They're founded by a gentleman named Ante Pavelic.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they were it was Croatian supremacy. And the thing
Yeah.
about the Croats is they're predominantly Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and they had murdered many Muslims, Serbs. Serbs were predominantly Orthodox, and they've been at odds with them for because of the big schism between Orthodox and Catholic. A lot of them
Mm-hmm.
were tortured. Slovenians were tortured. Anybody who was not with them was tortured. And
Yeah.
Ante Pavlovic's biggest rival was a man named Joseph Polish, otherwise known as Tito, who led the partisans. And the partisans were communists. They
Right.
were and they brought all the Slavic tribes together against these people. But when the Serbs talk about what happened to them at the hands of the Nazis, Nazi sympathizers say, "Oh no, it wasn't them. It was the Ustashi did with that to you guys. It wasn't us Nazis directly. It was Ustashis." And the funny thing about it is,
Mm-hmm.
the Ustashis tried to claim that they were Aryans, despite the fact that they were actually Slavic. And if
Yeah.
you read Mein Kampf, Slavic were not to Ubermenschen. They were Intermenschen, which means subhuman or inferior
Yeah.
humans.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, Hitler was on that type of tip, man. I mean,
That's
that
why
was that.
that's why
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
scoff. That's why I scoff at
Yeah.
right wing fascist groups like in places like Poland. I'm like,
Yeah. I
you
mentioned that.
know, you know, you're Slavic, right? Catholic or otherwise, you're a Slav.
See, you know what's so funny? I'm
Czechs,
glad you brought.
Slovaks,
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah.
Ukrainians, Belarusians, Moldovans, and
And once upon a
Russians.
time, yeah,
Also who else? Bulgarians.
Bulgarians.
Although Bulgaria was on the
What about
side of the Axis.
Hungarians? What about
No,
Hungarians?
Hungary. No, first of all, Hungarians, otherwise known as Magyars, are Indo-Europeans.
Oh, okay.
They claim descent from Attila the Hun and such. That's
Yeah.
how the
Yeah.
country gets its name. So they're Indo-Europeans. The same can go for Albanians. However, Bosniaks, who were originally Christians, although they were somewhere in the gray area between Catholics and Protestants, so they easily converted to Islam. Bosniaks, Montenegrins, Serbs, Croatians, Slovenians, they're all Slavic. But hang on a second. Oops, dropped my mic. Excuse me, I dropped the mic on my headset. But they're
Oh,
all Slavic. That's why I went dead for a minute. Sorry about that. But like I
yo,
said,
oh,
they're
you
all
good? You good?
Slavic.
Mhm.
But they're all Slavic. And they raised the ire of the Nazis, who claim to be Aryan and proud
Yeah.
members of the Germanic tribe, but they're not sure if modern day German people are directly descended to the Germanic tribes that fought the Romans.
No, they're not descendants. Those are invaders. They're
Yeah, a lot of
Central
mixing.
Asian invaders. Yeah, it's a lot of mixing in the whole Europe. Most of
Yeah.
the cultures were dark. There's a dark historian I read on research that
Mm-hmm.
website based off of my channel, and I found that website by
Mm-hmm.
the archaeologist. He can take
Mm-hmm.
you back when the Celts or the Gals or whatever you want to call them, they were darker skinned
Gauls.
people. India, yeah, the Gauls, yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
Etruscans and all that. Those people had some type of alliance one time before the Central Asian, those people, what you call Greco-Roman, or whatever you want to call it, conquested
Mm-hmm.
their lands over time. So there was
Yeah.
crossbreeding. Every culture crossbreeds too, even with darker races and the features of the Egyptians. They had different groups around them. Like I give you an example, like the Nubians were
Oh
later, but the
yeah.
original Egyptians, like if you want to go further back, they had different names. They was crossbreeded. What you have
Mm-hmm.
in Africa today, and I think Fastin told me this in tribes. If you want to go by the Bantus and others, right? He said, and he's
Mm-hmm.
from Congo, right? And he said, everybody knows who's who, except for the so-called black man, because certain cultures said, yeah, we may have some Semitic groups in our blood too, quiet as kept, because if we take a whole blood DNA test or
Arabs.
anthropology test, yes, in the Arabs, because we're very similar in the way our dieting and eating, because our cultures go further back. The funny thing about a black man is he don't know what it is. So it's like, it's complicated why we don't want to research. It's just like the ADOS thing. We don't want to invest in that because now you got a pair of layers of your other families. Other cultures do it. I try, I would love to do it,
Hey, I
but
mean,
as a
I'm
but as a
Semitic and
people,
I'm okay with
yeah,
that. I mean,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
embraced.
yeah,
I'm proud of my. I'm not really proud of my history. It's just I embrace and I
yeah,
honor it as best as I can. So I'm
yeah,
thankful I learned my history.
yeah.
That's
But with
why when
us,
people look at
yeah,
us, they're like wondering, "What are you?" I'm like, "You
yeah,
don't look African. You don't sound African." I'm like, "That's a long
yeah.
story."
It's a
But
long
like us,
story. But we just
but
gotta have
fascism.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
sorry.
fascism. Let's go ahead.
We're getting off topic. Sorry.
Topic,
Oh,
yeah,
one
but that's
country we
okay.
forgot to mention regarding fascism is Sweden.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah, Sweden. Yeah, it's another one.
And just like Spain, they remain neutral. That's why they didn't get fucked up. But
Yeah.
the funny thing about it is this whole the whole Aryan concept. They also had this thing about they had this something about Nordism.
Yeah.
They wanted people to be like the Nordics, tall, blonde, blue eye. And the largest concentration of blondes and blue eyes you would find is like in and around, mostly in and around the Scandinavian region, especially in and around Denmark. There
Hmm.
was a doctor who there was a geneticist, I think, genetic historian who did research,
Hmm.
and he found that that blue-eyed people are mostly concentrated like in parts of northern Germany, parts of Denmark, southern Norway, and Sweden. Although, of course, when people think of blondes, they typically think of Swedes. But the weird thing is, there are more blondes in Norway than in Sweden.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. People, I don't know why they say that in Sweden. Most Swedish people, I don't see them as blondes. I see different hair types. I mean, the ones I've
Yeah.
met, and especially when they come over here in Georgia, it's a lot of them. But there's some Norway, like you
Shit,
said,
have you
yeah,
been
it's
to
a lot of blondes.
Minnesota?
I
You'll
haven't
find
been to
most
Minnesota, but
Scandinavians in Minnesota. You got to go to
yeah,
Minnesota.
it's
That's where
true.
you find
Yeah,
most of
yeah,
most Scandinavians. They migrated. They went mostly to Minnesota because it reminded them of
yeah,
home,
yeah, it's true.
the weather and
It's so
everything.
true. That is so true. I've met some people from Minnesota that's that complexion, and they told me, yeah, it's a lot of blondes up there. And I've noticed in the pictures, I said, man, I would love to visit that state, if I get to go
Yeah,
someday,
damn.
you know.
And I try to, and I try to, I don't, I try not to get involved with blondes. I'm not really attracted to blondes, but it's just a few I'll make exceptions. The thing is like
Yeah,
if they're a natural blonde, I would make an exception. I mean,
yeah,
one of the first chicks I got involved with, she was blonde and blue eyed, although she dyed her hair a lot, but she had
yeah,
beautiful blue eyes.
yeah.
Uh,
But
crushed my heart. I'll tell you that much, but it is what
yeah,
it is.
yeah. But right. But the purity, the racial purity that Hitler. Now I know
Yeah.
his people didn't have that, but he tried to push that so hard into the children's minds. When I read some of the books about it, especially fascism, I said, "Oh my God, this dude is wild." Now Mussolini, that's a cultural thing. Now, no, the mob, that's a whole nother feast in the war. They had
Oh,
to fight.
they hated the Sicilians.
Yeah, they hated
The
Sicilians.
Sicilian,
Yeah.
they hated Sicilians because Sicilians were, because they're dark
Yeah.
complexion. You know what a Sicilian says? When you ask them, "You from Italy?" They say, "Sono Siciliano." I'm
Hmm.
Sicilian first, Italian second.
Hmm.
They're proud of their Sicilian heritage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And because of that, it's like because they had to deal with so much, a lot of, and because how Sicilians and Sardinians were viewed, because they're from
Hmm.
islands, not from the Italian mainland. And a lot of people
Hmm.
forget this. There is no one Italy, because Italy has only been as one nation since like what, the 1870s. They and Germany became
1870s. Yeah.
became
Yeah.
single nations like in the 1870s, and that's mostly due to due to
Yeah.
the incompetence of Napoleon III.
Yeah. Even though once upon a time, if you want to go further back, it was called
Mm-hmm.
Italia, meant different names.
Yeah,
That name, if you want to go further back, the Etruria, that was the
yeah,
original names land a long
yeah.
time ago. And then
Mm-hmm.
see the term Italian, how they name it is kind of strange. I forget the etymology of that name, and one of them told me it's deeper than what people think.
Yeah,
Because most people, oh, you're not connected, Snake Man. But those things like that right there, you're right, because it didn't get its official name later on, but it has a rich history. Now Rome, that's separate. That's somewhere in next to
yeah.
Tuscany and places like that. Me
No,
and John
Rome
were
is
talking
in the
about
center of the country. If you're
center of
talking
the
about
country. Yeah,
Tuscany, that's up north.
that's up
Because
north.
like Turin, a place like Turin, Milan, Tuscany, Lombardy, that's up in
Yeah,
the north.
yeah.
And
I think Venice is up
and if
the
you see
north
modern
too.
day, it's a huge animosity between Northerners and Southerners.
Right. Yeah.
If you look at them when they speak Italian, you can tell who is from where because they have very
Yeah.
distinct dialects.
Can I
Ain't
add this
and
question a little
Florence
bit?
is up in the north.
No, Florenza, yeah, Florenza, yeah, Florence or
Yeah.
Firenze, yeah,
Yeah.
northwest to
Okay.
be exact.
Northwest.
Ah,
Okay.
hello,
What's
Hello.
going on, Snake
Snake
Man?
Charmer. Hey, Snake Man, how are you?
I heard that you were speaking of a fascism, a little bit of Europe, so I thought, okay, I jump in, and I wanted to say where the Italian name came from. It came from the Romans because when they conquered the surrounding lands in Italy,
Hmm.
they met some tribes that were cultural, a little bit the same like the Romans, a little bit. They're called the Italic tribes, but there was not all of Italy, and there was the name comes from.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, I like that.
Because there was
That's
also tribes
interesting.
too, like the Samians. There were even some Gaulish people in Italy,
Oh, the
but
Sarmatians. You mean the
Sarmatians, yeah,
Sarmatians?
yeah.
Yeah, they were known for as tough, rugged cavalry. The Gauls. Oh, you know what? I don't know if you're into history podcasts, Snake Man. Are
I
you familiar with with a podcaster named Dan Carlin?
know most of the time I only listen to German podcast.
Oh, okay. This is an American podcaster, and there was something he followed. It's called he did one episode. It's like they're quite marathons when you think about it. This one was a single 4 hour long podcast episode. It's called "The Celtic Holocaust" by Dan
Oh
Carlin,
wait,
Hardcore History.
I know. I can think about what he's talking about. Basically, what happens to the Celts?
At
Where
the
are the
hands
Celts
of
now?
Julius Caesar and everything. Yeah, interesting story, like what happened to them afterwards and everything.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting.
No,
Yeah.
It's
what was the topic exactly?
It's
What is
fascism. We talked about the system, the ideology, and we also talk about the leaders that they have that's well known, like Mussolini, Hitler, the guy from Spain, Franco, all them guys.
Francisco
In
Franco?
particular,
There's
yeah.
also Ante Pavlich.
Hmm.
You also had there were also Swedish Nazis, but many of them
Yeah.
remained neutral
Hmm.
because they saw what was going on.
Yeah, but the funny thing about the Nazis and stuff, you know that in Nazism, Germans themselves were not pure.
Yeah.
That is the funny thing.
Hmm.
What do you say?
He said
Can
the
you
German,
repeat
Germans.
that to me?
He said Germans is not pure. Yeah, we discussed that.
Oh, that way
A
from it.
couple hours in
I
the
mean,
chat.
the concept of racial purity is absurd when you think about it, because
Yeah.
we're all a mixture, a hybrid of this, that, and a third.
Yeah.
Because you've had constant movement of peoples throughout history. I mean, Snake Man, where are you originally from?
I am from Nigeria.
Where exactly?
From the south, basically it's the Igbo tribe.
Southeast.
Yeah, southeast.
Yeah, Eastern State, Eastern Plateau, and everything. That's where. Yeah, I remember. I remember learning about a little bit of Nigerian history, like post independence, what happened with the Biafran War in the '60s, and what in the fallout. But even your ancestors, the Igbo, they were a mix of something. They were a hybrid descended from various people who migrated into that region
I know.
thousands
Like
of
I
years
said,
ago.
like I said, as an African, I don't give a fuck about racial purity. That's a foreign concept to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about racial purity. Well, in our case, it'd be ethnic purity, but whatnot. But I'm just saying that we're all descended from a mixture of various peoples, because our ancestors were migrating from this place and that place. They came from various places, and they created what we are.
I
When you
know.
think
Yeah.
about it,
No.
you know. I mean, I have to do. I look at my face, and I look at that. When I look at my face, I see that reflection of that because of my
Yeah.
ancestry and everything.
Yeah, same with even my interests. I won't be surprised. I have cultures from other places as well. It's interesting though, but most people won't do proper research on that. But that's just people,
Mhm.
But it's good to know in a way. Now I know. I think
Yeah.
me and Deandra discussed this over at the woman. What's her name? She's from England. Her name is Kat, right? And
Oh,
we
okay.
was talking. We was talking about that. We
Cat, the
was talking about.
Sudanese. She's Sudanese and British.
Yeah,
She's
Yeah.
Nubian. Oh, she's
yeah,
such a sweet. She has a very lovely voice. I've never.
yeah. I was on a
East the
panel
Third Ward
recently
and
with
DeAndre.
DeAndre, yeah, and I was on a panel. We talked this very topic right here, right? We didn't go into the fascism part, but since y'all brought it up, I was like, explained it on that website and told her to read it. I ain't coming here to argue. I was just like, if you disagree, that's cool. And she read it, and I was like, oh, I was like, man, she's smart. And then she jotted down, and there you are. But
She's a
it's so funny.
researcher. She's got a
Yeah,
mind. I mean, her
yeah,
her father, from what I understand, is an intellectual and a professor, a university professor as well.
yeah,
So
yeah. I can tell.
Yeah.
yeah,
Cat, cat,
she.
cat is cat is actually a
Hmm?
good person when she's not drunk.
Hmm.
When she's not drunk.
Yeah.
When she's,
Let's not put that
I
out
caught her
there.
on
Let's not
that
put
on the
that out
panel
there.
on her panel. She is
Hmm.
very smart. I know
Uh-huh.
why she drinks and I understand why. And she told me on secret, that's just try to, the relaxation, things like that. And I get it. But most people do,
Ah,
you know.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't always be there. I know it's not my fault. I can't always be there. But
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
no, because
No, I
because I am
remember
with cat.
first time I've met Kat, actually. The first time I met her, it was on Officer Charles's panel. What
Uh-huh.
happened was Charles had to deal with a very contentious individual who was
Yeah.
a bit of a troll. So he thought he was dealing with her, and she came onto the panel, and I noticed her name said something something Khartoum
Cartoon cat.
in the
Yeah, that's
chat.
the same one I'm talking
Khartoum,
about. Yeah, that's her.
yeah, Khartoum Khat. I asked her, "Are you Sudanese?" Oh yeah, okay. Then when I told her I was Eritrean, that's when her defenses dropped. Yes, we are the
It's
most
usually the way
lovable
it is.
Ethiopians. Well, it is what it is, because Ethiopians, Eritreans were very hospitable, very lovable people. Sudanese are very nice people as well. They're very chill. They have to be chill, especially where they come from. The country is hot as hell throughout the year. So she came on thinking it was. I guess she had her own misconceptions of what was going on. She came on, and I had to come in there immediately because I understood. Oh, this is a Sudanese who's coming into an ADOS space, and I don't think these guys are. I don't know what's going to happen, so I better come in there just in case. And when I let her know it was me, that it was the same Eritrean that she met on the panel, she realized, oh, okay, this is a cool space. He's here. I don't have to worry about nothing. I was kind of like that bridge, that social proofing. Plus, I wasn't sure if Charles was mentally equipped to deal with that British charm, that British accent, and everything. I got to protect my brother somehow. It's not about me. It's just You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's very interesting when it comes to historical stuff. She's cool. I'm cool with her.
Well,
she knows who I am. Yeah. She comes by into my chat. Yeah, she'll come by in my chat and say hello. I've seen her.
I don't think she'll be coming right now. It's
not right now. No, she's on other things. She's busy, so
No, she's asleep right now. It's 3:35 in the UK right now.
She's asleep right now. Yeah, she's asleep.
Because
it's 10.
Me and Snake Man we're an hour and ahead because Snake Man's in Germany. I'm in Norway.
Yeah, I'm 10.
40,
I would say 10:36 over here Eastern time over here. So yeah, I'm good. So I got time. It's been 2 hours over here. So yeah.
I enjoy these conversations. It's a lot of fun just coming here and just chopping it up like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I'm talking about it this because this has been on my mind when I did the last political streams Wednesdays because Rashawn's birthday is probably that Wednesday. I know y'all probably over at Wednesday right now, but yeah, because he's doing a pre-celebration right now, so I can't wait when he has a birthday stream. But we're gonna celebrate. But I had to push this Tuesday on my side of the world. I said, man, this is a needed topic, and I'm going to talk about totalitarianism next week.
Wait, who has a birthday? Only the Ghost?
Yeah.
Bruce Leroy got a party, got a birthday. Okay, this is going to be cool.
Yeah.
This is going. I should take that back. I shouldn't call him Bruce Leroy.
No, he don't care. He's cool. He's a chill dude. He's a good dude.
I heard that next week we would talk about authoritarianism.
Totalitarianism. Yeah, I'm gonna get into that. Yeah, I'm gonna do some research on that one.
Yeah. How many regimes can you think of that are actually totalitarian? Because more often than not, there's more authoritarian than totalitarian.
Yeah. I might have to add a few. I'm gonna probably write some of them down.
Because people always confuses when someone rules like a king.
Mm-hmm.
When you rule like a king, you still have 1,000 vassals under you that must administrate your shit. So you're not truly in control 100%. So I don't know where the totalitarian part comes from.
I guess the totalitarian part
it's the control part of all,
because you control every aspect of the person's life. I mean, look at China before they opened up, or look at the USSR. That's a prime example of totalitarianism. Nazi Germany.
That's authoritarian. Yeah,
that was authoritarian, but there was few or no rights for anybody. But when you talk, bringing it back to racial purity and everything, think about it this way. They also believed in stringent gender roles, strict gender roles. And one of the things they did, they couldn't use total control, but through authoritarianism, they used incentives. They would deter, Jews would be designated to the ghettos, and as much as they were committing atrocities, they would try to deter them from having children and Jews at that time, a lot of them decided to have fewer kids because it's easier to escape with a small family than a large family. And that's another story for another time. But they would encourage pure German families to be fruitful and multiply. And one of the best ways they did that is whenever a German couple got married, they were given a home with a mortgage. And for every child they had, the Nazi government would pay off a fraction of the mortgage, and for every child they had, a fraction would be covered, and another fraction, another fraction. Most couples, by the time they had their fourth or fifth child, the house, the mortgage would have been fully paid off.
Yeah, that
They
actually
also
was a
believe
very that actually was a very good idea. The problem was a rage total war. That's why they really didn't have the money.
they didn't just not only that, because they had war was going on, more and more young men were sent to the front, and very few of them were having marriages. And because the men were sent to the front, the women had to enter the workforce and into the factories. I mean, some of the officials within the Nazi Party had to argue with Hitler and convince him they needed to let the German women work in the factories. He's saying no, the women should stay at home and have children. Who is impregnating the women? Most of the men are at the front. Even
Mm-hmm.
some of the men who just been recently married been sent to the front. None of them have had their honeymoons.
Yeah, and that is one
They
of
didn't
the
have
other
sperm
problem.
banks back then. They didn't have sperm banks back then, so they couldn't just impregnate them like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the other problem of Nazism. So the leadership was totally always fighting, always.
Yeah.
Oh, and they were. By the way, Snake Man, there's a document. Do you have Netflix by any chance? First of all.
And nope, I don't have Netflix.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I don't know.
But
Maybe because there was
if you give me the title, I can legally watch it. Wink, wink.
Hitler. It's there's a Netflix series. Let me look for the title. Hang on a second. It's By the way, I must say I do find your accent very intriguing. Your German accent is very intriguing.
Okay, why?
Oh no, because you sound very German, yet there's that hint of African in there. It's quite a blend, you know?
So I
Anything
tell,
blends perfectly with black. Anything blends perfectly with African. You know that.
yeah, I know, but the problem is the reason why I actually came to this space is because I got tired of arguing with white boys over the internet. Because it always went the same way.
All right.
I
Anyway,
mean,
I found the documentary. It's called Hitler's Inner Circle of Evil. Hitler's Circle of Evil.
okay, I will try to watch it legally.
It's like a 6-part series. Talks about all the members of his inner circle and how they were jostling with each other for power, for to get it to have be on Hitler's best side and everything. But yeah, man, I'm surprised that Argentina is not included in this list though.
It is. It's on the list.
Because I've got
Brazil, all that.
Brazil. Oh yeah, the further south
Yeah,
you go, the further white it
yeah.
is.
It's all on the list. It mentions it.
Yeah,
Cause see,
list
yeah,
what list?
yeah. These are the lists of years are active. The ones active is Lebanon and Poland. They still have these problems. Everybody else died off in World War II. I would say the neutral zones in
I
World War One. They
I
give you the
wouldn't say
years
they
and
died
dates.
off. I wouldn't say they died
But the
off. It's just
ideology,
they became.
yeah, I would say the ideology is there. But I'm saying the influence of Mussolini and Hitler, yeah, when it was active, they active. I'm saying they're inactive, but their
Okay.
ideologies is still there. Yeah, I ain't saying they died out. I meant their whole basis, their natural, what you call it, their beliefs and
Core
things like that. It's
beliefs.
still there, but the problem is, yeah, it's still there in those countries, yeah, and they have them listed. But the problem is the ones present like Lebanon and you got Poland, very interesting. They haven't their fascist ways. That ain't changing. So yeah, it's small
Lebanon?
countries, but a lot of them, yeah,
Whoa.
1936 from yeah. I forget the leaders they had, but yeah, that's another one. It's a lot. Fashion. See,
Oh,
I had
I
even
guess
heard.
I can understand
Yeah,
how they could have been aligned with the fascists, because Lebanon, just like Syria, were under French rule.
yeah,
But they were battling but once France was occupied, some of their
yeah.
colonies thought about should we rise up against French rule and become independent nations. I remember when World War II broke out, a lot of Indian independence leaders thinking, should we get involved in this and try to side with the Nazis to get independence? And Gandhi was like, nah, let's not. But there was one man who did and tried to align himself with the Japanese. Oh, wow, the
Hmm.
Japanese. I mean, Nazism and shit, nationalism, the way it is with them, it is insane. Going all the way back to,
Oh yeah.
and I'll tell you, it's
Something
like you
else
had,
funny.
oh, please tell us.
Uh, it's funny when we talk about World War II and fascism or the authoritarianism, and no one really wants to talk about the insane shit the Japanese did.
Oh yeah, it's
Because
Ooh,
true. Yeah.
absolutely.
Feudal. Yeah, Japan was something else. Yeah, I think me and DeAndre talked about that on several open discussions, and I'm glad I brought fascism up. Yes, that meant what they did too. Yeah, they was barbaric, man. Like it's listed right now as current in 2021. Quiet as kept.
I mean,
They're going back to
You
that
know how
old ways,
insane it
that flag.
was?
Yeah.
Snake
I
Man, do
mean,
you have any idea how insane it was inside Japan itself? Go
oh,
prior to World War II, when Japan was trying to modernize itself. You
Hmm.
saw numerous prime ministers. You had some of these ultra nationalist groups who were trying to see who is more nationalistic, whatnot. And they had very bizarre. Well, to the Western people, the names sound bizarre, but their names were actually very Japanese. It stick to their culture. But these groups would force change in prime ministership via assassin. You have no idea
Hmm.
how many were forced to resign, how many were assassinated.
Hmm.
It was insane at that time. I mean, you
Oh
see
yeah.
that in Japan nowadays. I mean, in Japan up until like nowadays,
Yeah, they trying to
Japan
bring that old flag.
constantly
They,
changing in prime ministers in Japan.
uh-huh.
Same thing with Italy.
Yeah,
That's why they're so
Japan.
unstable.
There's a guy that Dre told me on a panel recently, like pounds ago, like last month. He said the younger guy. He said that's the guy that's going to replace some prime minister, whatever. He's going back to the
Shinzo
days of
Abe.
old. Yeah, he's going back to
Oh
the days
no.
of Japan. Bring that old flag back. Now all the Asian countries know that they're about that. That's why. Yeah, you got the lockdown and everything, but Japan is not playing. I mean, them boys, they always give China and everybody else that word, and this is why Chinese have problems. This is why they don't have what Japan has. You know what I mean? As a country, everybody's always say, yeah, Japan's got the firepower, and yeah, we gave them hell in World War II. But prior to that, America didn't understand. Japan was far ahead of everybody. In Asian civilization, they conquested islands that was going against the war with Chinese. China had a rich history too, but the problem with China is they too busy worrying about let's try to save everybody. No, Japan was trying to conquest
Mongolia.
and all that
Mongolia was a big headache.
headache.
You know what?
Man,
In Mongolia, they do have fascist groups,
yes,
but the problem is like some of them try to, and the swastika is a Buddhist symbol, and they try to incorporate
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But the swastika
yep.
is like, but you have two forms of the swastika: one to symbolize men, the other to symbolize women. In fact, I
Hmm.
remember one thing I realized was like there's this rock group, the Who, not the British ones that's spelled WHO, but HU. That's a Mongolian rock group. They have a song called Wolf Totem, right? And they had a bunch of what they call the Mongolian choppers. That's a motorcycle group that's indigenous to the region. They had them supporting them. They had the group. They had these guys. The Mongolian choppers, just was it Mongol choppers? These guys were with them, with the band, just performing out in the open space of Mongolia. And I remember noticing that there was a couple guys. They were showing their hands. One of them had a ring, and that ring was blurred out. And I was wondering, why was it blurred out? Then I looked at it, and I found a picture of it uncensored. It was like, that was a swastika. One of the bikers had a swastika ring on his hand, but it was in the position to symbolize masculinism, not feminism, but masculinism. Kind of like the yin and yang with them. In fact, I checked a couple of these channels where a Mongolian was explaining what the symbol means and where it comes from. And in Central Asia, prior to Buddhism and Islam, they adhered to a religion called Tingriism.
Yeah.
Which is a form of animism. That was a religion that Genghis Khan adhered to. So, and it was interesting to seeing that. It's like they explained what that symbol symbolized. I mean, you see that like on the drums of Tengrists, because it symbolizes something else to them. Hell, even certain Turkic tribes throughout Central Asia are reviving it because they say that's part of their nationalism. They're trying to use those things to incorporate, to spread a sense of national pride. I'm like, can you do it without trying to be nationalistic? I don't think so. But yeah, but surprising. But anyway, going back to this fascist countries 2021, I'm surprised Chile and Argentina are not on this map prominently, because they still have a lot of some significant communes of Nazis or German Nazis in their respective territories. Hello?
Yeah.
You falling asleep?
No. I ain't falling asleep. I was listening to what you were saying, but yeah, man. Yeah, those territories.
Inside Chile, they were involved. They were very prominent in the Pinochet. Yeah, you're right, man. The insane imperialism of Japan.
But trying to look at Japan as a semi-inferior, that's BS.
Yeah,
that's
it was
what
younger brother, little. It was bigger. It was like older brother, younger brother relationship.
Yeah, but Japan, military-wise, they got them beat. China is too nice. That's what the British was saying. Like, those people always get conquest so easy. What's saving them is that damn economy they believe in. But all that military, man. But see, when Mao, when he passed away or whatever, right? Or that country ain't never been the same. Yeah, that country has never been the same. I don't care what nobody said. Japan, it's been consistent. They've always that culture. Yeah, that culture is, man. Y'all don't understand. Japan's no joke, man.
What they did was that when the Tokugawas came to power and brought peace and stability, they forced a lot of samurais to divert their energy, their warrior spirit energy, into other things, into administration. So these guys became philosophical warriors. In fact, it was like, I listened to Dan Carlin. He had this 6-part series about Japanese imperialism from its beginnings and whatnot. And it's like a British missionary who went to Japan and studied the Japanese language. When he went there originally, the samurai were still the samurai. They had ponytails and swords and everything.
Yeah.
And when he came back there, or like what, 1910s, 1920s, he
Uh-huh.
realized now they look like everybody else. Short hair, a lot of them wear glasses. And when you hear their conversations, it's like the same conversations I hear when I'm in Europe. They talk about the newest modern technology, um, bicycle repairs, this, that, and that, and third. And what he also said was the Japanese, how they were able to do what they did, advance so quickly and modernize so quickly, is that a lot of Japanese men went overseas for college, for university.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were there, each student would observe what the country they were studying in was good at. So they took a little bit of everything from everybody, and then they reverse engineered and made it their own. Why do you think Japan has bullet trains, but the U.S. still sucks ass with Amtrak?
Yeah. Yeah, that's us. But Japan is
Mhm.
something else, man. Like, just like all the Asian countries I've noticed, they tell you, they had it with this virus thing. Like my dad used to laugh at one time when he was wearing his mask with, well, we ain't laughing now. Yeah, Americans is just simple. We think everything is cute before things happen to the world. You're just in it. It's nothing to them. It's
That's a
nothing like,
disconnect.
yeah. That's that disconnect, man. Like, yeah, I think DeAndre said about the tech. Yeah, they're ahead because they got understanding the capabilities of tech. They use it in military too. But what's so unique about their military is they don't really enforce much if you try. Japan is always gaming, man. And that Yakuza culture, that samurai culture, you're just not
No,
gonna.
Yakuza is a
Yeah,
underworld, and that's
yeah,
something
yeah.
of course, they're becoming less and less prominent nowadays. But
Yeah, but they
who
in
else?
the
Who?
police force, they stretched out. The culture goes back. But I'm talking about as a clan. That clan of them, what Dre was telling me, yeah, they stick together. That's one thing I can give them credit on. They're not like your most. If you want to compare them to like Italy, for example, yeah, them people stick together, boy. Unlike us, I mean, we don't have nothing like that. We just too busy worrying about.
Well,
Oh,
organized
this.
crime. As far as Italy goes, organized
Yeah,
crime is a little bit different because it varies
yeah,
from region to region.
yeah,
Like if we're talking about Sicily, it's the mafia.
yeah.
In places like
That's all
Naples,
day.
it's called the
Yeah.
Camorra.
Yeah.
Camorra, and the difference between them is down in Sicily, the families all work together. In Naples, the Camorra, they battle one
Mhm.
another. In fact, there's a series called Babylon. That's worth watching to understand about what's like during the life of a Camorra. And then you had another group in Italy, in Rome.
Yeah.
Organized crime was different there. Same thing in places like Milan. They have their own, but everybody keeps referring to them all as mafia. But no, mafia is a Sicilian concept.
Yeah, it
It has
is the
nothing to
same
do with it.
concept. Yeah.
Yeah. But in Japan, man, these guys like,
Oh, they on
especially
some
with
clan shit.
that's authoritarianism right there,
Yeah,
right
that's
from the get go.
authoritarian, right? Yeah, first from the get go. Even the
Especially when
clan
the emperor
Yakuza.
was seen as a god and everything.
Yeah. That Yakuza clan before it was an organized crime gang, it was actually go back to samurai culture. There was a clan. They stick the fucking together. And one thing I appreciate
They
about
were branded
Japanese,
too.
yeah. And-
They were to mark them. They would tattoo them with certain marks. So what they
yeah.
did is they took the tattooing and made it their own. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember there was a documentary talking about Yakuza tattooing, and you had a former Yakuza. He left, but when he left, he
How?
decided to he
How did he left? Did
hello.
he lose a finger? Did he do something? Because you cannot just leave the Yakuza like that.
Excuse me.
How can you leave the Yakuza clan? That's something I don't understand. The Yakuza clan. Just like that. Did he do something?
He left. I'm not sure exactly how he left his clan. It doesn't explain, but regarding the tattooing and everything. And this guy is heavily tattooed, but what he did after he left the Yakuza clan is he started his own he started his own business where he's now a Japanese tattooist. And he does the tattoos in the old way. So whenever he meets, and most of his clients, his clients are Yakuzas. And he does their tattoos without any problem. Most of the guys he does it.
And some of them are, I hate to say it, they be in your politics and police. I think Dre told me best he's cool with some of them. And he said, yeah, most of them don't leave it. But if you're on good terms with the country in a way, culture-wise, you're good. You don't have to participate in a little underworld business. But like I said, when they come to America, they're unified. I tell people, we don't have that, like what they have. See, that country itself, hell, that's structure right there. And then I understand the patriarchy concept. I think Dre was he wasn't trying to do no shots at art. He said, no, I live in a country that is a little patriarchy, but the system, I don't want to say it's fascism, but they, according to this little information right here, I won't be surprised because that's Japan. I suppose that's a hard nugget to break. You can't really do much you can do much in Japan. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, it's their rules, man. It's not like the U.S. I try to tell people, like, yeah, it's this country. It's our ally. We accept it. We said, fuck it. Japan's going to do what they want to do. It's like having Saudi Arabia in our hands. But, that's a whole
don't get me started there.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. I ain't going to get into Israel. I forget, what's his name? Sarun said that. He said they had the most war crimes. I said, Sarun, we know that, but nobody's not going to believe that. The average American ain't gonna believe
that. Never talk about it. I mean, you ain't like what's going on in Yemen and shit. You never want to go there. But these guys. But Yakuza's. I mean, you ever seen the movie Rising Sun? Wesley Snipes, Sean Connery.
Yeah, I seen that movie. I seen plenty of those.
Yeah, you gotta watch that shit to understand a lot of the shit.
Yeah,
it was interesting what they said, especially when Carrie Hiroki.
They have video games of the Yakuza too, and that broke it down their culture. I said, man, they so fucking strict.
Oh, you talking about the Sega the series by Sega?
Yeah.
From PS2,
the Japanese
PS3,
is ridiculous on that game. Like, the storyline. I know they love stories, but when I played the third game and actually played the prequel too, Yakuza 0, it's just ridiculous how that one character, how he started, the orphanage and things like that, and they took him in. He had to stick with that clan for a while. It's your progress, even if you have a job. They want you to stick with it, you know what I mean? Because like Snake was saying, in culture, but but you want to talk about fascism, man. I mean,
you can leave.
Yeah, you can leave.
You want to leave because I know you can leave under certain situations. Like I remember one. When he left, what happened was like when he went to jail, he found God and became a Pentecostal priest.
Yeah.
Became a preordained minister, and after he told his boss he was going to become a minister. He said, "You may go, you may leave if you wish." It is what it is.
Yeah,
that shit is wild. But we're getting off topic here.
Organized crime is funny because as a Nigerian, what one thing you learn is crime is just a word.
Yeah.
True.
Illegal is just big. Is the one in charge don't like it what you say. That's basically how we see the world when it comes to organized crime.
Yeah,
absolutely. But fascism, man, they're like a lot of people are like right now concerned about that concept right now because they're seeing a rise in the far right in many parts of the world. Especially like when you see like in Europe, you have those huge, or in parts of the U.S. for that matter. Like, do you have these anti-vaccine protests?
No, that culture is not dying. It will always exist. That goes back to the days in the 18th century. It will never die because even if you die today as one or used to be one, that tattoo, that concept is not going nowhere, and it worked. I'm sorry to say that because Japan is built off that. Half of their culture was
the tattoo. Well, it's becoming less prominent. I mean, a lot of them are not tattooing as much as the year before.
Not because they used to, but the concept of the Yakuza, they ain't going away. The ideology and all that, it's not going nowhere. No,
just like in China, the concept of the triads is never going anywhere.
Oh God, the triads are brutal.
Ruthless, yeah. See, y'all think the Yakuza is bad. Both of them are ruthless too, but the Yakuza concept will never go away. Here's the reason why they're not using tattoos. They realize that's prehistoric. That's 80s. That's 90s and all that stuff. They ain't trying to
That's
scare
old
people.
school.
Yeah. In law enforcement, I think Dre told me in military, they're in your military and your clans, but they stick together when it comes to economics. Like I said about the Italians, when they realize over here, even in Sicily, they realize we can't do that bullshit over in America. Let's join the politics. Put the guns down and work your little communities. And us, the difference with us, I would say Black Americans is different. We learn from other cultures, yes, but we don't have much. I tell people all
Look
the
at hip
time.
hop.
Yeah, and all that stuff. We're stagnant people. We're not even that organized. We're like, I don't want to say we're anarchists in a way. You can, but the gangs, yeah, it has structure with Larry Hoover and them guys. That's understandable. But I was trying to tell the general, but that shit's dead, man. You can't do that in 2021. You got to be proper now. Let the what you call the Mexicans, the Latin people, let them try to do that shit. I tell, okay, go ahead. Play the terrorism game, play the drug game, and see what happens. You're gonna be bombed left and
I
right by our
mean,
military, and there it is. You want to
I
play that terrorist
mean,
game? There you are.
look at that. Look at the RICO law. It was originally
Yeah,
against organized crime, but they realized
yeah,
they can go against other forms of. It was arranged. After it was meant for the mob, but they were able to use it
yeah,
for terrorists and drug peddlers.
yeah,
And they can use it to other groups that they label
yeah,
terrorists.
yeah. Even
Or
black organized gangs that you used to have in the past, like the GDs, they did that too. Or they did that to most Chicago gangs and LA gangs. But you know what, LA gangs where they realize we're not them in Chicago. Because Chicago gangs, they're organized still. The problem with them is they don't realize y'all don't own guns in that state. You got to get them from other places like Indiana, where I'm from, originally from Tennessee, Georgia. They have to realize you don't have that much power, buddy. I mean, the feds got you surrounded. So you really can't have an organized gang in America. No way. Because like I said, you're nomads. You're basically bandits. You know what I'm saying? Like you ever study Knights? What happens to a former knight? He becomes a bandit, right? That's why they create that Witcher 3 game, told the history of, Poland and all them places, right? That's what it's based off on.
Mhm,
And then the funny
mhm,
thing is about the bands when Geralt realized they ain't nothing but terrorists. But when I played the Blood and Wine part, the system,
mhm.
oh boy, I had to clean up all that. And then next thing you know, yeah, you trying to chase this vampire. That's a spoiler. But if you played the actual story and the side quest, you realize them knights have problems. They couldn't beat them bandits. They were organized. You know what I mean? But them days is done. Most humans don't want to be organized now. They just want to compete and act crazy. That's that sports complex, I guess. But fascism, yeah, and every culture is different. But what I've
Mhm.
noticed, it always stays in Italy, Germany, in these Latin countries. You can say Japan, you can say Slavic countries and African countries. They adopted a little bit, but it's wild, man. But they love that ideology, man.
I don't know about African countries because they're more likely inclined to lean more to the left,
Yeah, they
or at
lean more
least
to the left. I'm saying some can adopt it
co-op
though. Yeah,
Marxism and such.
yeah,
Try to
The
co-op
problem
Marxism.
is with fascism in Africa is like you must understand why out fascism or some more right wing ideology doesn't really function in Africa. It's the same way why it took so long to show up in Europe because of tribalism.
yeah,
Tribalism
Hmm.
cannot be
mhm.
tribalist and fascist at the same time. That is impossible because if you are like that, you get wiped
Absolutely.
out by the greater coalition. Because fascist countries, quote unquote fascist countries, into history always got wiped out by a coalition of other
Yeah,
peoples that are
true.
not.
That's very true.
Trying to impose some kind of supremacy and whatnot instead of being because it's exclusive, not inclusive.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the difference between fascism or communism.
yeah.
One is
Communism.
exclusive
Yeah.
by its nature. The other is inclusive in nature.
And you notice communism in general never worked either because most cultures they try to push that don't even work either because you always like in the West that shit never worked. I don't know why we support fascism or some corporate. It ruins everything. Now he's right. Snake's right. In Africa, that's in Africa. But I'm just saying, some people
or
can
parts of
co-opt that.
Asia for that matter.
Yeah, I'm saying like Asia. See, you got to worry about Asian countries messing up Africa too, because now Japan may not, but China, in a weird way, yeah, they can adopt that shit too. It takes time. Yeah, they get wiped out, but it's be hard though. It took them years. I'm telling you, it took Hitler years to knock that concept out. But here's the thing: it spreads like a cancer. It's always a counter to communism. The reason why communism won't work as a full system. This is why you got socialism, for example. That works. Communism is like an agreement with no leader, because if you don't have no leader,
Communism is more of like a totalitarian in its nature.
totalitarian. Yeah.
Socialism is more authoritarian.
Yeah. See, if you have totalitarian, like it wasn't able to work because number one, most people need a leader. See, people don't like sharing. In a sense, I hate to say that. That's why most people want to be capitalist so much. Well, you want to be a fascist, then you want to be neoliberal. You would be a corporate person, pro-corporate, still liberal though, in a quiet sense. It's exclusivity.
It's not
Socialism.
practical.
Yeah,
You cannot be elite in certain. I mean, elitism. Like because what it means is one group is elite by virtue of what they are, while another group, by virtue of by this virtue of what they are inferior.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about like a pseudo caste system of sorts.
Yeah,
that's what it does. That's what it's trying to implement.
Yeah, like
a type of caste system.
One of the famous proto-fascist states in the past were like the Spartans. And the problem with the Spartans was because they had so many lower caste, aka slaves, so they literally couldn't really go to war with full might because what happens is then revolts all the time.
Oh yeah, true. That's what kills fascism. I would say revolts, anarchy.
The Helots were they? Who was it? The subclass that were mostly farmers.
Helots.
What they called the Helots?
Yeah,
the Helots.
Yeah.
The Helots. Yeah, what was worse was what happened. Helots were very fearful of the Spartans. Why? Because like when young Spartans were going through the Agogo, the military academy,
your neck gets snapped.
It's funny I just said Agogo because that's a common last name in Ghana, but that's another discussion for another time. I mean, you might remember. I mean, Snake Man, you watch football, do you not?
You mean American football or football?
Football.
Yes, I do. I even played.
What position?
Defender and goalkeeper before I got knocked in the knee. Kicked
I used to play. Are you left-footed or right-footed?
Right-footed.
Oh, okay. So you could have been central defender, might be a right back. Keeper. I used to play keeper myself, but I was more of a striker, midfielder. But anyway, because you might remember the name John Ogogo. That was a Ghanaian player who played for Ghana, based in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
He was very important to their team in 2008 when they held the African Cup of Nations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a beautiful thing. Anyway, what was I saying? At the Agogo, the Helots were scared because at night one of those young men might come out from behind and try to kill him without getting caught. The Spartans were very regiment that way because all the Spartans did was train and fight to be warriors. The Helots had to do all the manual labor.
Yeah, it's the funny thing is one thing I never understood about fascists. Let's go back to the rest. Is why they always try to claim past empires who clearly weren't fascist in the sense they're thinking about.
It's a projection.
The problem is the beastly ideology is there. Like a lot of people, they're so gullible, they believe in it. You gonna have weak-minded people. It's like the fall of society, for example, like America, whatever. That spirit is there, and based off the old concept. Yeah, it came from Rome, But that style, like Snake's saying, yeah, it doesn't work, but still it doesn't matter because you still got weak people that don't want to revolt. And this is why you don't see a lot of anarchists in our country revolt. And I mentioned this in the stream, and I think me and Cerulin said they don't want no green fucking energy. They don't want no solar system trying to save our munitions and things like that. And especially with the roads that has smog everywhere, they don't want to
Mm-hmm.
get rid of that. And there's a reason for that because you still gonna have fascist people that are semi right, but that's that spirit of what it is. This is why socialism can't work. It has to work in a conservative manner. You have to believe in means of production and work. And this is why you get the term libertarian socialism, for example. That's why it's a conservative idea. It's not liberal. Because if it was liberal wants small shit. They want to be
Mm-hmm.
fascist. And this is why you get the term liberal fascist or libel fascist, whatever you want to call it. That's a term they use.
Mm-hmm.
It just basically means you're a neoliberal or a fascist because you're on the deep end. Once you lose your mind, you go extreme. That's just it. Some people just they believe in that shit, man. They believe they want a world like that. But here's the
Mm-hmm.
problem now. Certain African countries don't have that. Yes, they can be communist, but they can't be fully communist. They always lose to the fascists and the traitors of their own people. It happens all the time. And as long as if America exists, I won't be honest. As long as the United States exists with a damn military complex and prison complex, you're always gonna have problems. The best way to defeat a country like this, you gotta kill it within. And here's the problem: you gotta take the black people out of the military. That's skillful like that. I'm sorry to say it, and other people in the belief in it, you gotta get them out of that military. Because without
Oh.
America's military, the economy itself or the infrastructure that we get, or the tech stuff we conquest from other terrorists or whatever you want to call it, this country is no more. It's just because you're looking at the economic inflation, to me, is irrelevant. That's just a distraction
Mm-hmm.
of money. People gonna steal money regardless. That's why you got criminals. You know what's
Of
gonna kill
course.
criminals? Military. But if
Yeah.
you take the military and the criminals, what happens? The country will be in chaos. You got to have some chaos is going to happen. I think me and DeAndre said this before, and fascism is one of it. Then you
Mm-hmm.
got to look at their opposition. It's really anarchism. That's the only medicine to get rid of fascism completely. Communism doesn't work. And I try to tell people it works in a nice way. You got to really,
Mm-hmm.
most people got to learn to share, but they don't want to share, because some people, like humans, I don't know what it is. They got to have some leader. You got some people say they don't. That's just the human species in the mind. Like in cultures, what study shows, you always gonna have these problems. And the older I get, and I realize, I said, damn, like you can try any suggestion you want, but as soon as someone disagrees with you, they always want to go to war with you. But that's the whole purpose of the world. Now, us in America, it's
Mm-hmm.
complicated. 1 minute we want to be this, but we love that fascism for some reason in corporations. That's the problem. As long as you have corporations in the military and
Mm-hmm.
the corrupt medical system, oh yeah, it's a problem. And the only way you do that, you got to beat it within. Now, most people, the average people, they want peace, but they never had it. To get peace, you got to spill some blood. I'm just sorry. I'm just being honest. I mean, I have no faith in people. If you're not spilling blood and actually saving children or whatever, you have no business in the battlefield, But I understand people say, "Oh, it's slavery." Yeah, the prison system is slavery. Yeah, our prison system is fucked up. Yeah, but we do free shit. But other
Here's
countries'
my
prisons,
question.
wow. Yeah,
Here's my question.
yeah. Whole nother story.
To quote the Roman philosopher, Roman politician and thinker Cicero, "Qui bono?" Qui bono, as in who benefits from this, or to whose benefit is this done?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody benefits from it, but I'm just saying, like, them cultures, man. Like, why?
No, I
Why look
mean,
at the? Why look
why
at the
some
U.S.?
people are dumb
Yeah,
enough to fall for it and continuously. They don't want like you said, they don't want green energy and everything. They don't want that
right,
shit.
right. Yeah. And then, and you know what's so sad? You can't change people. I tried that when I was younger. But the older I get, I realize why they like that, and now I understand why other people have different beliefs of what they believe in. But you know what's so funny? If they trust in these damn corporations to get rid of that, it's not easy because some people love the shiny things. They say, "Ooh, it's shiny. This is great for me, for my body." You don't know where that stuff comes from. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
then here comes the fascists trying to tell you to, hey, we're great people. Next thing you know, they take your rights away. There you are.
Yeah, that is a funny thing. Like in Austria, they voted a right wing, very obvious Nazi leaning party in. Do you know what the funny thing is? The first thing the elites did when they went in power is, hey, Russian oligarchs, do you want to buy some private owned, Austrian owned companies from us? That was the first thing they did.
Hmm.
When I thought to myself, oh, yeah, since it's a fascist and nationalist, they're so nationalistic, no one could have seen that coming. When I thought to myself, man, how can people be so stupid?
Yeah.
Because they really thought when they vote them in that they would all be ultra nationalistic, blah, 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 blah. They even raised the work hours. So they
Hmm.
must work more. And I think to myself, yes, because they're fascist. What the fuck you think they will do? They will sell your shit because you are not a part of the elite and they will make you work like a slave so they can get rich.
Yeah.
This is insane. But
Yeah,
wow.
it's insane, man. But I mean, some people's okay with that. Like you try to tell them that. I mean, it's something else, man. You can't complain
If
about.
you are of the right group, or to use a Paul Mooney phrase, the right complexion for the collection and protection.
Yep. I try not to implement race, but hey, I mean, hey, you co-sign it, yeah. But America loves it. I mean, that's a country. This we have no business to exist. Well, and I try to tell Mike, you have to understand about fascism. That's what's saving it. I mean, I don't like that, but it's the truth. Like wherever system, this country can't be communist because number one, we don't believe in the total shit. We don't believe in not having a leader. No, this country wants leadership. It just want to be corrupt. Some people just
The
like that.
Hollywood Red Scare, anybody
Yeah.
in the 1950s? That's a prime
Yes.
example. McCarthyism.
Yeah. They don't want that. They rather have I don't want to say Hitler, but they want like a Mussolini type because the influence of Italy over here up in the northern states, and yeah, we had Sicilian gangs too that migrated in New York, but that's a whole nother. The influence of that term, I know it's, but the concepts never went away. You know what I'm saying? Because the country when it was built and founded, yeah, on bloodshed and everything else and conquest. You think people gonna give that up? Hell no, not even the banks. I love my fascism. Okay. They don't even say fascism. I love my currency. I love my capitalism. Okay. And they love capitalists. I do know that. They love capitalists.
Yeah,
If you
that is
yeah.
one point I never understood about this type. Okay, why do you want to die on this hill? I mean, if it works, it works. Nothing
Yeah.
against it. But if the signs are showing that oh shit, it goes down, why is they so willing to die on that hill?
You got most people believe that, man. You try to tell them that, they look at you like you're crazy. I care about my money. And next thing you know, if it does pop off, oh yeah, you gonna see some bloodshed. There's no way of running from that. Hmm. You know, see the countries y'all in, it's decent, but it ain't as bad as people think. I mean, yeah, there's some bad places everywhere around the world, but they said America's gonna say, yeah, it's safe for a reason because military. Until the corruption comes, it's a wrap. We ain't on the dangerous countries in the world because some countries have their own problems, man. We can't save everybody, you know. But yeah, our military is something else. That's a whole nother story. That's what's saving it. Quiet as kept, you know. I mean, economics, I think we was good until like the 50s. I mean, the fall of the 50s, but prior to that, it was better than that. But tech is changing the world. So, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
let's see what the Chinese do in Africa, because I myself I'm very nihilistic. When I can
Hmm.
see I can see when the Chinese go up a specific route, I can see the world in 10 years when it happens. It went to happen 10 years changing drastically.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it goes that way.
Yeah. I think, well, China, they're so focused on, I would say economics, but I'm surprised they're not using military might. But knowing them, they're not really built like us a military might. I think people get it's a misconception by Chinese. I met one that was a banker at Emory University. He was like a volunteer, and he told me he got his real name in China. It's in Shanghai. He kept his real name over there, but changed his name to Ryan. He got another job at in Michigan somewhere as a banker, and he said, hey, that military mindset, they hardly ever use it. But the British always said that about them, personality wise, they're not really warlike like that. The last time they were warlike was their culture back in different centuries ago. I mean, they
No,
was probably in the 20th centuries, but they wasn't like warlike like America. Cause see, when they look at us, we are so stretched in, we're everywhere. Now Vietnam, yeah, they got us. Russia, yeah, they got us. But that stealth shit we stole from those countries, the certain techniques and the Hannibal techniques that we use from Hannibal, that ain't fair either. Because look what we do to terrorists. We'll fight a bunch of Arabs all day, and we're defending that had the most war crimes. Two countries, by the way, Saudi Arabia and Israel. And
Oh
I ain't
wow.
don't get me started like that. And we protect them so bad, but you got to blame our intelligence agency, special forces. But they co-signed it. Like I said, if you want to get rid of the corporate fascism and the military industrial complex and the prison complex, our prison complex, right, worldwide, you got to take some of us off that team. You know what I mean? In sports, you got to get rid of everybody. But you know what's the hard part? Most people say, no, I'm still joining the military because, the street culture uh, that most black people grew up in, they hate it. And it's done by design. You have two choices. You want to serve your country, do the bidding for the corporations, or just be a simple old civilian, just go to prison and be a slave in the penitentiary system. That John Q. Wilson shit with the broken window. Shouts out to Cerulean breaking that down. Yeah, man, they put your back against the wall. The crime bill and that's part of the prison generation. But if you're fortunate not to go to prison, the military is your option if you want some success and money and then get those jobs. Because back then it used to be the economic people in the military, two people compete. Now it's only one. See, that's another thing. Yeah, fascism is a slippery um, system. The only one countries I know it works historically, it had a short stint. I will say Germany and Italy. Brazil, I'm not surprised on this list. Others and Japan, I'm not surprised. Everybody's different. It ain't the same. It's different levels of fascism. You got your Nazism, you got your what I said in the philosophy I said early in the stream. Because I mentioned something down here. It's different levels of it. You got your nationalism, totalitarian, you got statism, patriotism, that's us. Autocracy, militarism. Our problems is patriotism and militarism, corporation, populism, and collectivism. That's our problem in America. We so weird like that. And the types of fascism, there's your Italian fascism, your Benitos, Mussolini types. You got your Nazism, that's Hitler, Mein Kampf. What else they got? Clerical fascism. It says an ideology combines the political, economic doctrines of fascism with theology, religious tradition, with Catholic and Europe and South America. And then you got your neo-fascism post World War II. That's what we're dealing with right now. The clerical and the neo. That's what we're doing right now. I mean, that type of fascism, it's not a threat, but it can turn into one of the classic types. So, Yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. But this piece right here, when I saw on this map, yeah. Yeah.
Now, what I'm it's interesting to have this debate because most of the time when I'm on the manosphere is it's about other shit.
Yeah.
Now, what I meant about China is normally, like I said, they're not really known for their military aggression, like full
Right.
force. What I meant more is like their famous tributary system. Basically, go to a country, make it economic dependent on you, and then expand the influence of these countries to other countries so they can become tributaries too. And that's what I actually see in Africa they're doing because they always do this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that is scary because the tributary system, like they did, or nearly all the history, it can lead to very strong countries.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. Well, fellas, I got to shut this down because that's all I want to cover tonight. I'm gonna get some rest. So,
Okay.
I appreciate y'all coming by, but I'm just gonna knock this out because it's already discussed. I may talk about the totalitarianism next week. I'm gonna break it down, like the philosophy aspects of it. I think I read on the political systems I did, and then do some research. Which countries had a few? I might make a list probably this week. I know it's Christmas holiday and things like that. Then over the weekend, I'm gonna probably look some more searches on it. Just expound on. But any last words, gentlemen? I'm about to shut this down. I ain't gonna stand this longer.
Yeah, I would say world history and politics are funny and interesting, and I hope that more channels we talk about it because I have the feeling if we talk about it, African Americans would perhaps understand why the word is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and have a good night.
All right, you too. Wolf, you there? Oh, you must have fell asleep. All right, everyone. So I'm signing off. It's been a good discussion. So with that, I'm gonna say peace, and I'll be back on Thursday Thrills this week. And we're out.